Hello, YouTube. This is Dark Tower Palaver. As we have been doing, we give you guys a little bit of an extra intro. We are a podcast, and we have now added. We've added YouTube thing over the last number of years, and then just added cameras. And we've kind of forgotten to do intros for the last little while on YouTube. So we're trying to do intros for you guys now. So yeah, that is what we are doing. You're basically just going to be able to listen / watch the podcast being recorded on this YouTube thing here, this live stream, whether you're joining us live or watching later. So that is what we are doing. So let's go ahead and yeah, we're going to just jump right into Roundtable 111, which is a fun little number there.
111?
Yeah, indeed. So let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland, to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for Roundtable 111, which is coming right along, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it was that long ago that we were in the single or the double digits.
It seemed kind of crazy that we hit 50 episodes, that it was even crazier. We hit 100, and
yeah,
here we are working our way up to, 200.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the next big one that well, I mean, 119 will probably be fun here.
Anything with 19.
But yeah, we're here for the 111. It feels like it's been a while since we've been here for a roundtable. I don't know if that's just deceptive memory, but we did, I guess, yeah, it was on September 11th was the last time we were here for a roundtable. Then we had a book club last time, and then we're back here for this one. So has been a bit, as well as we are catching up. I think we mentioned that before on a previous episode, that we have a lot to cover in this episode that we didn't necessarily I guess we've fallen behind due to some special guests and some different things that have caused us to kind of fall behind on the news. So we're actually covering a lot of news in this episode. So first of all, we'll warn you about spoilers. This is a roundtable. That means that we will spoil stuff, not necessarily on purpose, but it just happens in the course of conversation. So if you haven't finished the 7 primary books, you may want to stick to our book club episodes. Those are safe for someone like, say you are in book 5 right now. That would be a safe place for you to listen. This roundtable, though, certainly not.
No.
So anything beyond this, you're risking hearing about the end of characters, storylines, and books, as well as the entire series, because those things tend to come up quite often in our conversations. There will obviously be other light spoilers, as we are a Dark Tower podcast, but since Dark Tower is the linchpin for the whole King universe, we cover all things King as well. So there's a lot to talk about, and I will just throw it out there as a teaser that there's a lot of Salem's Lot talk in this episode.
Ooh.
So yeah, so there may be some light spoilers for that. And the other thing I want to stop before we go through our normal intro and let everyone know is on our last book club, we actually started something new. We've been kind of behind the scenes been talking about different ways to address how do we talk about stuff in the book clubs that may be spoiler centric, because we want to keep those spoiler free. We want to go through kind of line by line almost through the books pretty granularly, but that we haven't really found a good way to actually cover, oh, hey, we hit a line here and it's really significant to this thing either later in the same book or even later in other books. So what we came up with is we're actually now going to start having a spoiler section at the end of the book clubs. So last time we actually did that. So we make it very clear. Most of the episode is spoiler free, but then we have kind of a warning to tell people that if they're not finished with the whole series yet, they can just turn the episode off and then just move to the next episode, that kind of thing. But then if you're listening to those and you have finished the whole series, you can listen to that. And we're going to start talking about the stuff that we covered during that episode. And if there is anything that jumps out at us that has significance in the later series and that kind of thing. So it is still spoiler free. For the most part, we do make sure that we're segregating the spoilers to the very end. We're not letting that separate out so that it is still safe for people that have not finished the series, but we are discussing it, so I think it's kind of the best of both worlds. So be on the lookout for that with the last book club as well as all book clubs in the future. And then if you want to find this podcast, you can do that in a number of places like Apple Podcasting, stream us on Spotify, Stitcher, or you can find us on any podcasting service. If you want to subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those, that we definitely appreciate that, and it definitely helps get exposure to the show. Then if you want to find the show notes, you can do that at darktowerpalaver.com. Everything we're going to cover in this episode, I link to the articles and stuff that we cover. For instance, there's one today that one of the articles that I literally only read like one paragraph from, but if you wanted to read the rest of the interview, you can do that. You can find at the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. You can find that thing in the show notes. Not if you were listening live, because the show notes aren't posted yet, but if you're listening anytime in the future, anytime after the podcast has been posted, which is generally by late Sunday, is usually when everything's posted. The show notes will be posted there, and you can find the links and follow those to the articles that we're taking them from. And then if you want to support this show, you can do that on Patreon, over at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. We have a number of different levels there, and it's always fun. We have had some conversations recently about some fun things, including in the chat got thrown out recently was the dream casting for Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton,
the Batman, in my mind. He's still the Batman to me. Like nobody's topped him, and I even made a joke about that because it's like, well, he's got to be this character because there's no Batman in the Dark Tower series, which I was waiting to see if you had any kind of response to, because of course you would want Batman in the Dark Tower series.
He's second in Batman. I'm sorry.
No, man, there's nobody touches it, man.
Kevin Conroy is Batman.
None of that nonsense now. And then if you want to contact the show, you can do that in a number of ways that Peter can let you know.
Best way to reach us is through email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. And then we stream our shows. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Make sure to like, ring the bell, and subscribe. Ring the bell to get notifications for when we're going live. And then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. And then Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word. And then we have our merchandise available. It's tpublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver. And also it's available on our website. There's a little box there that you can click on the right-hand side that'll take you directly to it. Anything available there we got shirts. Tad's wearing the original logo. Also, he got a pillow that he's been talking about.
My little cushion that I've been wanting to order for some time. Finally got it. Very happy with it, too.
There's also the second logo that we have, which is, of course, the better of the two.
Slanderous.
The hashtag Tad is terrible.
The slanderous logo.
Either logo you can get in any number of different things. So that's really cool. Like, I got this sticker from there, showing that every time I take a drink, that hashtag Tad is terrible.
Which, of course, isn't true. But go on with your lies.
No, it's true. It's all true. It's in print. That makes it true, right?
Stickers never lie. Is that what you're saying?
Stickers never lie.
Okay, so then the next thing, we want to just cover the calendar. So we are here this month. We basically have 2 roundtables today, and then in a fortnight from now, we have episode 112. And then in November, we've got a book club and roundtable, and then we have a book club and roundtable in December. We had to kind of shuffle up our normal 2 roundtables and then 1 book club because the year-end bash will be on the 18th of December. And if we would have kept with the 2 episodes, 2 roundtables and 1 book club, that would have left us leaving with a book club at the end of the year. And that just doesn't seem to work. So that is kind of what you'll be expecting. 2 roundtables this month and then 1 of each the following 2 months, which will close us out of 2021. And hopefully return us to a closer to normal. Because 2021 felt better than 2020. And so hopefully 2022 feels even better and we just move closer and closer
Just keep moving on farther down the path of the beam.
Yes, indeed. So that's what you can expect the rest of the time here. And then, as I mentioned, because of some things with like special guests and different Palaver topics, we've kind of fallen behind on the news a bit. I believe we had some news for the episode that Jeremy joined us, but obviously our Palaver there didn't really allow time for the news. So then the next roundtable, we covered everything I had prepped in that one, and I said up front that I would save everything from that point forward for the future episode, which is now. So we're basically going back to the end of August is where our news goes. So we've got a lot of fun stuff to talk about here.
So what you're saying is keep the tangents to a minimum.
I mean, I don't think that's possible. It doesn't seem like it's even physically possible. Ultimately, I did prep to cover all this stuff, but ultimately there was even some stuff as I was going through it that I would love to cover, but I actually put into maybe something for next time. Okay. So ultimately, if there's something that I have prepped for this episode, if we don't have time, I could definitely skip some things and cover them next time, because we do have. I did kind of wonder if the overflow would flow into two, but I tried to hit the big things that I want, like that were kind of more important to cover, quote unquote, in my mind. Okay. But if we don't get to it, we don't get to it. We'll see what happens here.
So there might be a little bit of bouncing around coming to
possibly
when news hit.
Possibly, yeah.
Depending on how far we get.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, possibly.
Gotcha.
And then also, I will also say, if you're watching, the allergy season has been horrible. So if you see my eyes watering, that's why. I have been going pretty heavy with like allergy meds and stuff, and it is not helping me. We've just had a bunch of rain, which is not normal for Utah. It doesn't rain very much. Like
no.
It's pretty rare, maybe 2 or 3 times a year tops. And
where we get what Tad's talking about is it's not it rains for an hour or two and then it moves on, which is normal for Utah. That happens throughout the year. What we just had is like 3 straight days of majority of the day is rain.
Yeah, so and it's killing my allergies.
It's been he's not alone. My wife is right up there with him, and I've seen a lot of people talking about it. So no, I did not hit Tad. No, I am not hurting him. He is safe.
Blink twice for I'm in trouble. Of course, it would be you that would be the evil one.
After everything, it's the happy, cheerful one always, right?
Yeah, I'm the victim here. I'm the one that's imprisoned by you and being abused and tormented like Annie Wilkes. That's just the way it works.
If it was written by Stephen King, that's how. Yeah.
Yes, written. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it here. This first one here is a lot of fun for me anyway. I hope everyone takes as much enjoyment from it as I did. It's actually some follow-up on Billy Summers from a local news outlet in Kansas. So this is fun because if you've read Billy Summers, there's a lot of traveling, at least especially in the tail end of the book. And there's a number of places that is mentioned, and this is one article that kind of came from that, basically reported. And I love when it's a local news place, it just feels it just feels different than when you're like reading something from Deadline or whatever. It always just feels different when it's a small town place. So this is called Stephen King Mentions West Kansas Towns, Businesses in New Book, and this is by Joe Baker from KWCH 12, which is I guess Channel 12, on August 27th, 2021. And it starts off here. It says a small Kansas town of Protection, about 140 miles southwest of Wichita in Comanche County, is excited about the world-renowned author Stephen King's newest book. In it, King mentions Protection's Motel and the town's popular restaurant, Don's Place, where 2 of his characters visited. The town of Quinter in Grove County makes an appearance in the book as well. So, and then it goes on here, says, in Protection, Don's Place has been the serving home-cooked meals since 1973. And then a quote here, it says, those of us that live here look at Don's Place as kind of the glue that holds the town together, Protection resident Dave Webb said. Seeing Don's Place featured in King's latest novel, Billy Summers, shocked the restaurant owner, Doug Dellinger. And then this is a quote from Mr. Don here. He says, I got a phone call from a friend here in town who had a friend back in the Connecticut area. She was reading the book and came across that in the book, and she thought, oh, cool, Dellinger said. So she called that person, and they called us. So we thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, how did he even know that Don's Place is even here? So, that would be my thought, too. It's like,
he's probably eating there.
I mean, you would think that the owner would know that. I mean, if he's been around since '73, King was already. I mean, that's right around the time that King hit it big. So I'm assuming if he owns the place, he's there most of the time. And
Yeah, but
you know,
he's not the one serving the food most likely, and
you don't think that the word would travel. I mean,
Well, I'm just thinking like, okay, this is in Kansas, right?
yeah.
Could have been there, just traveling through and whatnot. Had to stop and on vacation or whatnot. Not everyone's going to recognize Stephen King by face,
You don't think so?
No, I can tell you right now, my wife would not be able to pick Stephen King out of the lineup.
Really?
No.
Huh.
He's famous, but is he face famous? Is he Paul Rudd famous?
I would think so. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that he would. I don't think he would stick out.
I mean, maybe it's just that I'm a constant reader, but I would almost think he'd be.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. You got to step back from people who are not constant readers.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be surprising to me. That'd be interesting to hear what non-readers think. And then it says Dellinger has a message for King. He says, quote, "I like the book. I got to that part and thought, I do serve more than hamburgers and corn dogs, though," he said. So I'm guessing that King must have alluded to that's the only two things that were served at said restaurant. So that's what he said there. It says, to Dellinger's knowledge, King has never stepped foot in his restaurant, but he is hoping that will change. Quote, "Everything would be on the house if he came here," Dellinger said. King's got a free meal now if he does make it there to Protection, which I love that town, Protection. It's a fun town name. I was actually going to look it up, and I actually did to see the map. And I will say it's very small. One thing I forgot to look at though was the population. It doesn't look like it's that big. I'm guessing the population is very, very, very small. It definitely feels like, if not a 1-horse town, maybe a 2-horse town.
Okay, Protection City in Kansas, right?
Yeah, and then Zach actually mentioned in the chat what I was kind of thinking is King probably found it from Google Maps. This is the 21st century. It's probably easy to just whether you're just like searching through Kansas and you're just like, oh, look at this town called Protection, and then you click on it and then you just Google Street View it and you can find some things. That was kind of my thought process as well, personally.
According to this, the population of Protection is a city in Comanche County, Kansas.
That's the one.
As of the census of 2010,
I'm gonna guess under 4,000 people.
Oof, that's too high.
Oh, yeah, I said under.
Yeah. Okay. The city population,
a town of 4,000. That's still pretty damn small. So I'm saying I think it's definitely south of that. It was my guess.
Now remember, this is the 2010 census, so
yeah,
they were not included in the most recent census, which was 2018.
No, 2020. It's
2020.
It's every year on the zero.
Oh, okay, 2020.
Or every 10 years on the zero.
So it doesn't look like it's been. Well, at least the Wikipedia hasn't been updated. It was a population of 514.
Yeah, that's about right for what I saw from the Google Maps. It's definitely not a big town by any means.
Damn, that's small.
Sub 1,000. Okay. Then it goes on here and says Billy Summers also mentions the Protection Motel. And then I'm sorry, I actually did have I have a slide. The slide right away shows Don's place, which I got to commend him on his signage there.
Dr. Pepper, the way to go. That's our favorite soda.
He would get me to go in just by having that, because it is always a question for me when I'm looking for a restaurant. I was like, God, are they going to have Dr. Pepper? Or secondarily, at least going to have Coke, so I don't have to freaking choke down Pepsi. But a sign like that would definitely make me know that I would have my first choice going in. So that's great. So let's go ahead and jump over to the next slide as we're talking about the Protection Motel.
Oh, okay.
And then it says, quote, if Stephen King would have come to this, or let's see, if Stephen King would have come to this motel, he would have stayed in his own room, or if Stephen King would come to this motel, he would stay in his own room 15, she said. So I'm guessing, I don't recall, but I'm guessing they must have stayed in room 15 in the book. Billy Summers must have stayed in that room.
Probably, yeah.
Because now they're saying that's room 15 is the Stephen King room. The room is now called the Stephen King room and features books written by the author. So
nice.
I don't remember the details of the book enough to go, oh yeah, they were in room 15. Now if it was room 19, I certainly would have remembered that, or 217 or whatever. Obviously this isn't a 2-story one though. Then it goes on and says that was shocking. We could have fell over. Stagg said of learning that the motel was featured in King's new book. We thought, did he come and stay here, or did one of his people he writes about maybe stay here one time or another? We didn't know. We were shocked. And then it says the town of Protection wants King to know he's welcome anytime. So
nice.
Yeah. And I will say, from the personal side of things, I know that King also wrote about Wendover, which is a small there's actually two towns. There's West Wendover and then East Wendover. East Wendover is in Utah. West Wendover is in Nevada. It's basically one town, but the state line of Nevada and Utah cuts right through it.
Yeah.
And I'm familiar with it a lot because it's about 90 minutes or so outside of Salt Lake City. It's a 90-minute drive to get over there, so it's usually the place where folks here in northern Utah, if they want to go over and play some games of chance, that's the place to go do such things because it's such a quick jump over the line there.
Yeah.
So I'm quite familiar with it. I've spent many a night in Wendover myself. They do mention it. I've not. So there's kind of a quote unquote main drag, which has like 5 casinos and hotels. They don't stay there because none of those are mentioned, but the hotel that is mentioned in it, though, I do think I might have to go back through and look at it now after seeing this, because seeing that some of this is real from protection makes me wonder if he may have done something similar in Wendover. So I might have to do some investigating next time I'm out there. I'll have to listen to that section of Billy Summers again, but that definitely geeked me out a bit because not that I'm from a small area by any means, but a small area that I go to that I've been to a number of times. For that to show up made me kind of excited and happy.
It's one of those things with us being from Utah. I think I brought this up before, is that me and my wife always kind of nerd out whenever Utah or where we live, Salt Lake, is mentioned. Because we live in the Salt Lake Valley, not Salt Lake City itself, but just off.
Close enough for anyone outside of Utah to know that
it's Salt Lake.
Yeah, nobody's gonna know like where we're actually at if we said it. They'd be like, "What's that?"
It's just like it's just like the people that say they live in oh well, I'm from Chicago, but they were the town outside of Chicago, kind of thing. It's the same thing here with us. But anytime that it's mentioned, we're rewatching Parks and Rec, and they mentioned Salt Lake City for whatever reason. I don't remember exactly what it is. It's like Salt Lake City, and it's like, hey, both of us stop what we're doing. Hey, pointing the TV.
Well,
we always do that.
I do know that we get a Salt Lake call out in the stand.
We get a Salt Lake call out in the stand. Captain Trips goes through there
because Campion stopped.
Campion,
Salt Lake. So, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, unfortunate.
That means we would have been one of the earliest casualties of said.
Because he comes across I-80.
Yeah,
and I-80 goes right through Salt Lake.
But he mentions it to them at Hap Station. He said something about she's been sick. They started coughing since Salt Lake or something like that. So.
They started feeling sick in Salt Lake or something like that. It's like,
damn
son of a bitch.
You could have gone the other way.
Well, there is no other way. California, if you go the other way, is ocean.
Well, no, there's other ways to go without going through Utah. But Cody mentions King doesn't like to fly. He could have driven through, and that's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I've never heard about King not being a flyer. I know he does fly on occasion because there's the famous episode of Conan that I've watched where he talks about he was on a plane and then a literal Ronald McDonald sat down next to him.
Oh, really?
And he was just like, what? Because he jokes about like how he thought this is how the plane's going to crash now because I'm sitting next to Ronald McDonald. The guy's in like full regalia, and he's like, "Where are you from?" He's like, "McDonald Land." He's like, "No shit, where are you from?" He's like, "No, McDonald Land. We just had a big like." like convention or whatever, something for like corporate McDonald's or whatever. So I know he does fly. Doesn't mean that he likes to fly though. But he certainly isn't like there's some people that are so phobic about flying that they will not fly at all.
Yeah.
So he's at least not that far, but it doesn't mean he's not in the realm of being afraid of flying. But it is one of those fun things about King though. What is he actually scared of? Makes me wonder. I feel like we've heard some stuff in the Dark Tower series intros or something that I think at some point he had an early traumatic incident with spiders.
Chickens.
No, there's something with spiders because like
the spiders were coming out of a dead chicken.
The Crimson King, and then you got like the spider and it. Like I just feel like spiders kind of show up fairly often in his works as horrific things. Not that it's that hard to find horror out of spiders. Most people aren't happy with the little 8-legged freaks.
Good movie.
And then the multiple beady eyes, just Arachnophobia. That's a good movie to watch if you like spiders.
My wife is refusing to watch that.
Dude, it's the funnest movie though. Cody says I don't think he likes rats either. Yeah, it would be interesting to have him interviewed and kind of just go through his phobias because he's certainly one that has created many phobias.
Clowns.
Yes. So let's go ahead and jump on to the next one here. And there is another theme to this one. Well, this is one of them, Salem's Lot, but the other one is who we have right in here. So Stephen King adaptation Salem's Lot finds its lead in Lewis Pullman exclusive, and this is from Boris Kitt. Boris Kitt from The Hollywood Reporter, and just remember that because we'll be hearing it a few times.
Okay.
The Hollywood Reporter has a lot of reporting in this episode. This is on August 27th, 2021. First of all, before we dive in, are you familiar with Mr. Pullman here?
Name sounds familiar. Face isn't ringing any bells.
So
though.
Bill Pullman you're familiar with.
Yes, I am.
So this is his son.
Okay.
And I believe you know him from one movie. We'll dive into it, though, here. It says, in perhaps his biggest role to date, Lewis Pullman has nabbed the lead in New Line's adaptation of Stephen King's best-selling novel, Salem's Lot. Yeah, so, I will say, too, just pausing real quick, dude, I am so fucking ready for this movie. Like, I loved Salem's Lot when I read it, and I'm just like, I want to see it again. Like, because it's been done twice now. I don't think either time has been that overly great. The first one was good, but I think the television thing inhibited it a bit. I think Toby Hooper did a good job and stuff. I think it has some pretty amazing elements, but I think it could be done so much better in a lot of ways. And so I just want to see another try at it. So I'm excited for this one. Gary Dauberman, who previously tackled King as a writer on New Line's two-part hit adaptation of It, wrote the script and is directing the feature project, with shooting getting underway in September in Boston. So I think that's actually news, too. So that means they are now filming, which is fun to know.
Filming in Boston, too. That's a good choice.
Yeah. So it says Pullman will star as the author Ben Mears, a man who returns to his childhood home of Jerusalem's Lot in search of inspiration for his next book, only to discover his hometown is being preyed upon by a vampire, leading him and a band of ragtag group that will fight the evil presence. So yes, going on here says, for New Line, the project sees the union of the production teams behind two of some of the biggest horror franchises, The Conjuring and It. Atomic Monsters' James Wan and Michael Clear, whose Conjuring universe of movies, 4 of which are written by Dauberman himself, have generated over $2 billion worldwide, are producing, along with Vertigo's Roy Lee, whose It holds the record for highest grossing horror film of all time, with over $700 million worldwide. Mark Wappler is also producing. So that's a pretty good...
that's a good lineup.
Conglomeration of talent there. People behind both It and The Conjuring coming together for this. So that makes me even more excited. The role promises to be a breakthrough and career-making for Pullman, who is the son of Bill Pullman, the beloved actor who starred in such movies as Independence Day and While You Were Sleeping. Pullman is an actor in his own right, making his feature debut opposite his father in the western The Ballad of Lefty Brown. He played the scene-stealing hotel manager in Drew Goddard's The Bad Times at the El Royale.
Yep.
So that's where you know him from. And then, honestly, he was probably the highlight for me from that movie, because as it said, scene stealing, absolutely, that movie is fucking incredible, and I think his role was actually one of the best parts. And that's not for lack of trying, man. You've got the dude, you've got Thor, you've got
just call him Thor.
You've got freaking
what's her name?
What's his name from Mad Men? John Hamm. Don Draper, as it were. You've just got all these kind of people in that movie. There's a shit ton of people with.
What was the main chick's name?
I am blanking. I actually
I'm gonna look that up because she was.
But there's a lot of
fantastic.
There's a lot of really good roles in this, but I really think that Pullman here fucking stole the show. Then it says he also appeared in The Strangers Prey, The Strangers Prey at Night, and George Clooney's miniseries Catch-22. So that's what he's done up to this point. Doesn't sound like a lot of these have been leading roles, but now he is 100% in the leading role as Ben Mears. So as it says, probably a breakthrough role for him, which is good because from everything I've seen so far, he's proved a lot to me personally.
Cynthia Erivo.
Okay.
Yeah. Her role was she was
she killed it too. That movie's got a lot in it, but he definitely does good.
Yeah.
Says the actor now has several projects in the can, the highest profile being Tom Cruise's Top Gun Maverick, in which he plays a Navy fighter pilot being mentored by Cruise.
Okay.
That's interesting. The movie is currently set to be released by Paramount November 19th, 2021. He will also be seen with Josh Brolin in the upcoming Amazon series Outer Range. So he's got a lot going in the fire there. But yeah, he is our Ben Mears. So that's pretty cool.
All right.
I'm excited for Salem's Lot.
I like the idea of kind of going with not an unknown, but kind of an what's the right phrase there?
Definitely not a star. He's kind of an up and comer.
Yeah, an up and comer. That's the right one.
Yeah.
Not a star, but an up and comer. I like that they're going with that, especially for Ben Mears. That's a good one to have.
Yeah, you don't want like
want-
Brad Pitt in that
Or,
role.
or Tom Cruise distracting from the role.
Yeah.
Because Ben Mears is a fascinating character
Yeah.
in his own right and everything. And
Yeah.
and everything that he goes through is going to be great for not an unproven, I would say, not an unknown,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
an unproven, star in the making. Like they're like Boris says in the article, this is a career maker right here for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, well, we've seen it. We've talked about this before. There are a lot of stars that busted their chops and what's the phrase? Cut their teeth on horror. I mean, Johnny Depp, Kevin Bacon, Jamie Lee Curtis,
the Queen, yeah,
Jamie Lee Curtis, the Scream Queen. By the way, was it you that posted it and my wife showed it to me? The interview, where someone's like, "Well, yeah," and then Jason's chasing you.
No, they say the people that's come up to you with hockey masks and try to scare you.
And she's like, "It's the wrong killer." I was like,
"Yeah,
that's my Scream Queen right
That's
there.
the point where I just like want to bow and just like my queen."
My queen. It's just so great that she's like, no, it's the wrong one.
You know what I want to see? I want to see her in a movie with Neve Campbell as her daughter.
Oh, that's just asking for problems.
There's
going to be like three killers looking at each other going, is it me? Is it you? Should we all go?
No,
let's all go.
We can go real crazy and put Sarah Michelle Gellar in there as well.
Oh, no.
Because she crosses two different killers there.
Yeah.
Both Ghostface and the Fisherman.
It's true.
From I Know What You Did Last Summer. But they're doing another I Know What You Did Last Summer? They're doing like a show now.
Oh, are they really?
Yeah. Because I saw a trailer for it, or not in a trailer, but one of those like sneak peek things they do before the trailers start when I went and saw Bond the other day. And I think it said Amazon, but like I have not. Yeah. And I was like, because I only like saw half it. I think I walked in as it was playing. But as it kept going, I'm like, God, that seems a lot like I Know What You Did Last Summer. Because like just the general premise and stuff. And then it like the title card came up and it said that. I'm like, holy shit, I didn't know they were even doing another one.
I Know What You Did Last Summer TV series 2021.
Okay, so yeah, I can't remember if I swear it's an Amazon, so maybe it is a Prime show, which will be cool because I will definitely watch that.
In a town full of secrets, a group of teenagers are stalked by a mysterious killer a year after a fatal accident on their graduation night.
That's a good one, man. I love that one back in the day. Okay, so then jumping on here to the next one, once again, we're going to be talking about Salem's Lot. New line adaptation of Stephen King's Salem's Lot finds its Dr. Cody in Alfre Woodard. This is by Anthony D. Alessandro from Deadline on September 2nd, 2021. And this, starting off here, says Oscar-nominated actress Alfred Woodard is joining New Line's Salem's Lot. Salem's Lot's bunch, the Salem Lot bunch, in a big screen take on the 1975 King vampire novel. She'll play Dr. Cody, who in the novel is a guy, Dr. Jimmy Cody. Cody is Ben Mears, which it says Lewis Pullman in the film, Susan Norton, Mackenzie Lee, and Matt Burke, which is Bill Camp, in Fighting the Spread of Vampires. Now, I will say Bill Camp excites me, too. I don't remember if we've talked about him being in it yet or not. He played Gold, was it, in The Outsider?
Okay.
He's been in a lot recently that I've really been noticing him. He was also, if you watched, what was the name of that chess show on Netflix? With the
chess show, Grandmaster? No,
it's with the little girl. It's like it kind of grows up and becomes like a chess prodigy. I'm blank on the name of it now. Imitation Game stuck in my head. I know that's not it. That's the freaking decoder guy from
the Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit. Okay, yeah. He was the janitor that teaches her chess. He's just a killer fucking actor. Everything I've seen him in. So seeing that he's in it as well is pretty exciting to me. He's kind of one of those character actors. He just like shows up in these like smaller roles, but he always fucking kills it. So the fact that he's involved too is exciting.
Cody says he should have auditioned for Dr. Cody.
And then it says in King's first New York Times #1 bestseller, which is an interesting bit of trivia. I'm not sure if I knew that or not. So that means that King jumped on that list with his second novel. That's not bad. I mean, Carrie was obviously a hit. It kind of put him out there as kind of the who's who of like up and coming authors back in the day. But I'm guessing it probably wasn't big enough to land him at the top spot of the New York Times. It says author Ben Mears returns to his childhood home of Jerusalem's Lot in search of inspiration for the next book, only to discover his hometown is being preyed upon by a bloodthirsty vampire. And then it says Woodard recently starred in the critically acclaimed feature Clemency, for which he received a BAFTA Award nomination and Spirit Award nomination for Best Lead Female Lead. On the small screen, she starred opposite Jason Momoa in the Apple TV Plus series C. which is I've never heard of that.
It's post-apocalyptic, kind of barbarian looking. I've
Okay.
never watched it, but I've been seeing the trailers for it because season 3 either just started or is about to start.
Okay.
Dave Bautista joined them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She also starred in the Netflix film Fatherhood alongside Kevin Hart. Other recent film appearances include the blockbuster Captain America Civil War for Marvel, Jon Favreau's live-action The Lion King, New Line's Annabelle. Other Marvel projects she has starred in includes Netflix's Luke Cage as the fierce Maria Dillard, and as the title character in Netflix's Juanita. And she also which she also developed and produced. So sounds like a pretty killer actor here. I don't remember who she was. Oh, she's the mom in Civil War of the kid that got killed.
Yeah, the one waiting for Tony by the elevator.
Yeah, which actually makes sense because I remember her being in Luke Cage too. Because I remember thinking that I'm like, wait, they just cast the same actress in like
She's the
two different things.
She's the what is she, like city council or whatever?
Something, yeah. I can't
She's
fully
like
remember.
She's like
But
a
I
politician.
I remember when she showed up in Civil War. I remember being like, okay, that's weird that they're going to cast two people. But then again, that was part of my whole argument that the Netflix stuff is not actually MCU.
Yeah, the Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and all that.
Yeah.
were not going to be, like with.
Yeah, like
They mention it on a higher level, like the incident and
like
everything.
they pretend to be MCU, but
Yeah.
MCU never once glanced at them and actually
Ever.
included them. So, that's no bueno. But yeah, so she's a pretty talented actor. She's been in a lot of cool stuff. So she is going to be playing Dr. Cody. And wasn't Cody? I mean, he was the doctor. Was he pretty hard to convince of the whole thing? Kind of the man of science type thing in the book.
I don't remember much about Salem's Lot. I remember some of the bigger points.
Yeah.
I remember, floating outside the window.
Yeah.
I remember I always obviously remember the Callahan parts, and I obviously I mingle the Callahan parts.
Yeah,
from,
that's the hard part.
from Wolves of the Kala.
That's the hard part as a Dark Tower fan is to not mix them up.
Not cross those.
And then Cody also mentioned Queen's Gambit when I was blanking on the
Yeah.
name for that, which I highly recommend Queen's Gambit, by the way, too. That's a really good show, even if you don't like chess.
Can I interrupt us for a second for a tangent?
Go
What do
on.
you think Stephen King's top-selling novel of all time is? Do you know?
Oh, top selling of all time?
Because you said that you mentioned in the article that
New York
Salem's
Times.
Lot was the first.
The question would become, though, is does it like count newer sales? Like, is it like all-time sales, or is it just like what was their initial?
No, all-time sales, all-time.
Oh man,
top-selling
I mean,
novel
my guess
of
is
all time.
my guess is gonna be The Shining.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Says that as of 2021, it is over 692,000 roughly sold.
Okay, makes sense. I mean, the movie would have been big, which would have then added more to it than you. I mean, it's one of the most iconic horror movies of all time. So I think that alone would drive sales for the book. So yeah, that's definitely. Even though like you think to yourself like, oh, It and The Stand, like there's certain books that are like the most iconic King books that like every reader generally picks up. But it's like, okay, what about how I came to it? The Shining is my guess was like, okay, well, what about people that aren't really readers that dive into King one time? What's the one book that they're probably going to pick up? And The Shining just is the one, because it's like between the Kubrick movie, it's also not 1,000 pages. There's just a lot to it where it's probably the one that a lot of, and that's where I started, for God's sake. I mean,
Yeah.
So that follows, I guess, logically. Okay, so then jumping on here, we have another Salem's Lot edition. And a fun slide, too. Stephen King's Salem's Lot movie just added a Shawshank Redemption star. And this is by Eric Eisenberg from Cinema Blend on September 8th, 2021. And this is Mr. William Sadler. And it says William Sadler has a phenomenal track record when it comes to Stephen King movies. Seemingly a good luck charm of sorts for director Frank Darabont. The actor has supporting roles in The Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, and The Mist. All three are considered to be among King's greatest adaptations of all time. Now it appears that the writer-director Gary Dauberman is borrowing some of that magic for his upcoming take on Salem's Lot, as Sadler himself has confirmed that he has a part to play in the production. In the last few weeks, we've been hearing casting announcements about Salem's Lot via trade reports, but William Sadler has taken straight to social media with the news that he joined the cast of the upcoming film, teasing more updates to come. The actor wrote, and I have the tweet here, where he says, just started filming Salem's Lot based on Stephen King's terrifying novel, then the praying hands emoji, and he says, stay tuned. So you know what's funny about this is this tweet hit, because I follow Mr. William Sadler. It was on my private Twitter account. Someone was asking about repeat actors in King, and I was able to like pull a couple out that weren't necessarily in the conversation yet. As you know, and like it's something I've always been fascinated with, and it's funny because I was like, this is something at some point I want to talk about on the show and just kind of look into, maybe get like a counter, and then like when castings happen, you could like add to it, and we can kind of have our own tally or whatever. And then it's funny because one of the things I put on next times episode that I couldn't cover today was I found an article that did just that. And William Sadler's obviously on the list because he's been in 3 of them, and now he's adding to it. But I think it'd be a fun little thing to track, just all-time leaders and stuff, and just kind of see as time goes. Because, dude, there's a lot of these people that repeat King works. They go to one, they do another. I mean, Kathy Bates has been in a number of things. Dolores Claiborne, Misery, and then she was Ray Flowers in the Stand TV series, the original one.
Yeah.
So, which, I mean, when those soldiers come in with the guns and it's after Kathy Bates, I'm like, those guys are fucked. That was my thought, She's going to pull out a sledgehammer and they're all going to get hobbled. And then it goes on and says, William Sadler is now one of 2 Stephen King adaptation veterans who are a part of the production on Salem's Lot. Gary Dalberman's previously wrote and directed, or wrote the screenplays for both It and It Chapter 2, and Bill Camp has signed on to follow up in a follow-up to his role in 2020 HBO miniseries The Outsider. So yeah, Bill Camp, Gary Dalberman, and now William Sadler. So got some King alumni in it here, which is awesome. Cody mentioned Skarsgård.
Which one?
He did Pennywise, and he also was what the hell did they call him in Castle Rock? He just had some generic name like the Kid or something. Some weird, just not super specific name.
It wasn't King. It wasn't a King adaptation though, right?
No, it's a King. It's a King work though, even though he didn't necessarily do it. It's because it's built in his universe, right? You've got Shawshank and all this kind of different stuff. But yeah, so that Skarsgård has been in. Alexander hasn't done more than Flag, has he? It'll be interesting to look at that list I found next time. We'll do that next time, though, because like I said, there's a lot to cover this time, so I just kind of knew as I was prepping this show that I have to kind of self-edit and bump some to next week, and there was some that I did in that one because I was like, I don't want to shortchange this one because I think that's a fun conversation. Hopefully other people find it as interesting as me. But yes,
what the hell?
Mr. Sadler here has been in a number. This is what...
I just looked up Alexander Skarsgård on IMDb, and the profile picture that comes up for him, the top half is a tux, and he's not wearing pants. He's wearing tidy whities. What the hell is that?
I mean, it's what most people want to see, I think.
There you go.
It says, what we sadly don't know right now is what role William Sadler will play in Salem's Lot, but there are some choice roles open that he would be a great fit for. One could easily see him playing either of the 2 primary antagonists in the story, the vampire Kurt Barlow or his human familiar Richard Straker, and he would also be amazing to see play Father Callahan, a priest who sees his faith shaken by his town's new monstrous presence. So that is those are some speculations there for Mr. William Sadler, but definitely happy. I was happy to see that when he tweeted that because I was like, that's awesome, man. I like William Sadler. Everything I think I've seen him in, I've always enjoyed. So
yeah.
And yes, he does a great job. Now remind me, do you remember who he was in Green Mile?
Haywood.
Who was that?
I don't know. I just looked him up on IMDb and it says Haywood.
Because like he wasn't one of the guards. He wasn't the warden. Because the warden was the president in Deep Impact. I don't remember who his character was. I mean, obviously the Mist, we remember who he was. He's kind of the dipshit. And then he's pretty obvious. Haywood was who he was in Shawshank. I mean Green Mile.
Is he?
He's the one that Brooks gets and puts the knife to his throat and stuff. So I think Haywood is his name in Shawshank. But yeah, Green Mile, I can't recall who he was. I remember him being in it, but I don't recall what role he was in. One other thing I want to mention, just as a slight tangent, Halloween season started, and there are a couple places I love to watch reaction videos. And this time of year is always where people start to watch horror movies. There's a couple I particularly love because they don't like horror movies. So when they watch horror movies for a month, it's always fun because people that don't watch horror movies definitely don't know how to take them. One of them watched The Mist, for their kickoff for October. And that is a fun one to watch.
Oh,
people react
yeah, it
to.
is.
That was a fun one, man. Like early or not the end, but there's a point in it where like, God, this is bleak. I'm like, just wait.
William Sandler in The Green Mile, he's the father of the murdered daughters.
Oh, that's right. That's
And
why I couldn't place him, because I'm only thinking the prison, because the prison, the warden, all that kind of shit. I couldn't think, and he wasn't a prisoner. So,
he was outside of that. And then
That's right.
I don't know for sure who he is in Shawshank, but
I do. It's Haywood.
There's a picture here of him on the roof when they get the beers.
So, the main thing I remember from him is I love one of his line deliveries, because he's the one that Brooks puts the knife to. And they're like, Haywood, what'd you do? And he's like, that crazy old bastard's going to kill me. And I've always loved that line.
Yeah.
Him.
There's a picture of it.
Yeah,
it's the one. Yeah,
I know.
You're 100% right.
Yeah, I know he was in that. It's just Green Mile I couldn't place. But and Green Mile's one of those ones you don't just watch.
No.
Like there's a lot of movies that have like bummerness to them, but that one's like
that's
up
on there.
That's one of those ones where it's just like, yeah, you really got to be in the mood for that one. Like I could watch Shawshank because there's like some down, but also there's up involved too, and it's just a great movie. The Mist is a lot of down, but like the sadistic side of me loves it. Like just it's a glorious movie. Not to mention, I just think of Mrs. Carmody and you every time I watch it.
It just makes you happy.
It does. It makes me.
Hashtag Ted is terrible. You earned this one. You watch The Mist to get the joy out of, and then you text me every time you watch it. So I think about that horrible woman.
Sometimes I even text you a picture of her.
It's true. He does.
What is it, Mr. Smiley from Haunting of Hill House, the giant smile? That's me watching the movie, and I just think about you and how you'd react to watching her.
Well, maybe that's what we should do one of these times for one of our videos, is make me watch The Mist with you, so you can see my facial reactions and everything.
Oh, dude, you probably would not be super happy.
We watched The Mist the first time I watched it was together.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember, but I just
that's why it sticks so vividly in your mind how much I hate that woman, because I got so pissed at watching it and everything. And The Green Mile definitely is on that list of movies that you got to prep yourself before watching. It's right up there with like Schindler's List. Like, you don't go watching Schindler's List when you look for a good time.
No.
I feel like watching a 3-hour movie. What movie should I put on? Yeah, let's watch this. This will be fun.
Yeah.
No.
Or then there's other ones that are just you don't want to put yourself through 3 hours of shit movie like Pearl Harbor. Jesus Christ. I'm still bitter about that movie. That was like, what, 25 years ago or something like that? Crazy.
Was it 1999, wasn't it?
Still bitter about that movie. Next up, I didn't really have a full-on article for this because it got broadly announced, but it is Salem's Lot gets a release date. Because all these articles up to this point didn't have a release date. So I got Mr. Barlow there. September 9th, 2022. So that is the release
Spooky
date.
Season.
Yeah, just a good spot that you can kind of drop it, and it could hopefully have some life through September into October, and potentially have some legs.
Maybe a resurgence in October when
exactly
when you hit what rookie less spooky people have called spooky season.
So for me it's September 1st.
September 1st is spooky season.
Yeah, and for me, like, honestly, like, spooky season is where you turn it up to like 100, but like the rest of the year is still at like a 75. So I mean, it's only a minor upgrade. I mean, for me, it's just like I always tell people, like, there's times like the Grinch with like Jim Carrey, I'll just like, I want to watch that in July, so I just watch it. It's like that with horror movies for me. It's like I crave them all year round. So I'm not, spooky season is not just a small isolated time for me. It's all year, but then I just intensify it.
You just reminded me of something I wanted to talk to you about, and I actually kind of want to do it on the show. Do we have time? Are we having any palaver at all in this?
I don't have anything scheduled, no.
Okay.
Because I guess let me just pause you real quick and say, because that reminded me, the stats for the King Kids, that'll be next episode as well.
Okay.
Just because of, again, I wanted to bump it just because of the news. But go ahead.
You want to do it now, or do you, I can wait till after? I want to make sure we get through all the news that you want.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to ask this question because this came up. I'm reading Lizzie's story, and I told Ted before we went on the air, I'm getting a little bogged down. I probably won't finish it this time. Teaser. We talked about this before as well. Hearts in Atlantis was requested for one of our Patreon hangouts, and that is going to be coming soon-ish. And maybe not right away, but it is definitely on the docket.
We both just got to read it, basically.
Exactly.
I got to read it again. You got to read it for the first time.
We'll put together exactly like we do with a book club, and then we're going to sit down and we're going to go through the whole of Hearts of Atlantis.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it as in-depth as a book club, but not as light as we do some of the other topics.
Yeah.
It's going to be more in depth than that, but not as in depth as this book club. But Lizzie's story, you've read it. Lots of the fans have read it. Has got me thinking. You are a horror connoisseur.
Yes, I would say I'm guilty as charged.
Okay. There are subgenres of horrors.
Yeah,
Slasher,
certainly.
demonic possession.
Yeah.
Hauntings, ghosts, that kind of thing.
I always call it like the classics, like in my
classic,
mind,
yeah.
like because I feel like
You got-
that kind of encompasses your Frankenstein, your vampires, your werewolves, like because like I get those can kind of be subgenres of their own, but I don't think any of those really have the breadth inside each one to be its own subgenre. So I just call it like the classics, which I know like falls into like the Universal monster movies, but like everything that's kind of encompassed in those, I always think of as kind of one genre, even though like The Howling or American Werewolf in London obviously isn't like an actual take on Wolfman.
Right.
But yes,
Right.
yeah, there's definitely different genres.
Right.
Possessions, zombie, slasher. Yes.
A
on
whole
and on.
bunch of I call them subgenres of
Yeah,
horror.
yeah.
You got the all different kinds and everything like that.
Yeah.
How many different subgenres would you say there are?
I mean, it's kind of like music for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think with music, some people get so freaking dialed down that it's like they create this subgenre that includes like 3 bands, and like
Okay.
I don't really like that. I like to go a little bit bigger. I've never really done it, but I would say you probably got maybe half a dozen
Okay.
would be my guess. Like
Slasher's an easy one.
yeah.
Possession is demonic, any kind of possession.
Yeah, as I
right?
say, like, I'd probably lump it in and say like supernatural, like because it would be something like your haunted houses and possession. So like The Exorcist and Amityville Horror, I would say are kind of
I put those as 2 separate categories because one is focused on a person, the other one could be a ghost / haunting. So that's where I put ghost / haunting as one, possession would be another one. Would you agree?
I lump them together
You
because
would put 'em-
in my mind they're the same thing. It's just different executions. Like, is the ghost haunting a house or is it possessing a person? Like in my mind, that's just the route it goes.
Okay.
in my mind, because
it's such a different
'cause-
experience when you look at a haunting, like the haunting of Hill House versus
yeah, certainly.
The Exorcist.
Yeah.
There's a target, there's a victim, there that's being possessed.
Yeah.
Versus, oh God, something just went bump in the night.
Again, I think my disposition is I don't like there being too many subgenres
Okay.
because it gets so specific that it turns into a thing where it's just like, like justice bent like serial killer. It's like, okay, so Saw and Seven, like that's not a subgenre. Like,
No, that's slashers.
In my mind,
Yeah,
well, it's
slashers.
what I'm saying though. Some people get so granular with their
No,
subgenres
I don't want to
that it's
do.
like
I don't want to
so-
do
so-
that specific.
and that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like that, so I tend to, and I might be overcorrecting, but I tend to try to keep it super compact, which means in some cases, I know they're not exactly the same, but for me, kind of your possession includes possessing a person or possessing a house. In my mind, that's how I would do it.
Okay.
But and same as like the classic monsters. Like in my mind, that's a subgenre
Okay.
for me. Where some people would say werewolf is its own subgenre, vampire is its own subgenre.
Okay.
For me, no, because again, I might be overcorrecting, but that's just kind of how I go about it.
Anyone in the chat have any subgenres they want to throw into this? Because the question that I'm having from this, I got those 3 written down: slasher, possession / haunting, and I'm willing to leave it as one. I prefer to break it into 2 for this topic. Is that has King covered every single one of these subgenres? That was where my mind went with this, with going through Lazy Story, because it does cover one of these subgenres, and you know which one I'm talking about, obviously, because you've read it.
Yeah.
And then we obviously have classics covered. I mean, you could go into the details.
Yeah,
of
he's
classics.
got like
He has a vampire. I mean,
Yeah,
what's on the screen right now is covering
Cycle
one
of the
them.
Werewolf. He's
Cycle
got
of the Werewolf.
Zombies Cell, if you count that.
I would count that
as
you know?
zombies.
Yeah.
I think Zombies is probably the most precarious in terms of just because he hasn't done full on Romero style zombies necessarily.
Yeah, the definition of zombies has broadened over the past 20 years as well, ever since the 28 Days Later came out.
and that's to me that's not a zombie.
See, but the classic nomenclature for what a zombie is
Yeah.
has changed from the living dead to someone who will kill a human, whether infected by an undead virus or a rage virus.
Yeah.
The common denominator has become like a virus thing, which I would count Cell as. Slasher. Could you name a slasher, Stephen King?
Another one I want to add in there is a creature feature. I think it's kind of one
okay.
because I think it's something like The Fly or even The Thing in a lot of ways for me as a creature feature. Like I know like you get a little bit more psychological with the fact that it's like shape shifting, but it's like that's a creature,
That one's easy to cover for us. I mean, we got it.
Yeah, there's definitely
So.
you've definitely. I just was thinking about
Okay.
because there's other subgenres I'm probably not thinking of, but what'd you say, slashers?
Yeah, could you think of one for slasher for Stephen King?
Shit. Because the thing is, I would ask potentially. I was going to ask earlier about like Annie Wilkes. Where does she fit in? I think that's more like psychological thriller-ish, more than even horror. I think that's more Silence of the Lambs than anything. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In terms of like, because it is kind of psychological. There's a lot going on there. But
So is that its own subgenre then? What you're talking about?
no, because I don't find that horror. In my mind, psychological
thriller.
thrillers aren't. Yeah, those like in my mind, psychological thriller falls into drama. Like I don't say Silence of the Lambs is not a horror to me. That's a drama movie. That's thrilling, obviously, but not horror.
It just got me curious. So maybe this is something we can come back to around in a later
slasher.
episode.
I don't know. That'd be
Let's put a pin in this one and save it for a later episode. But it's something that got me thinking with Lizzie's story, because you know exactly what I'm thinking about with the subgenre. It's one that I don't think is covered in almost any other Stephen King novel that I can think of. But I mean, when you want to go slasher, I mean, heck, could Billy Summers fall under slasher? It's a guy that's killing people, right?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's actually really done a full-on slasher though, like that in the general sense that most of us would consider like Jason, Freddy, Michael type thing.
Yeah.
But I would say that probably thinking about it, there's probably some though that you'd think of that like small cuts, like maybe not a full novel, but there's certain elements, like even The Shining, a certain part of that turns into a slasher.
The Shining could potentially be classified as a
not fully
as a slasher
because
or
you have
haunting.
you have the possession and
yeah.
stuff going on, but there's a point when Jack is chasing Danny and stuff that like
with an axe.
That's
to me a slasher.
moments of that's
is,
a slasher. Yeah,
To me, a slasher is a killer targeting a specific group and or person, and then they usually use a particular weapon. I mean, like
yeah,
Freddy's got his knife hands, Michael's got his kitchen knife, and Jason has his machete.
yeah,
That's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface, Texas chainsaw,
Yeah.
and everything like that. Ghostface just has a big old hunting knife. It's kind of unique that way.
Not that I could think of one off the top of my head, but I bet you anything if you get into the short stories, I guarantee you'd cover everything.
There's got to be something
Yeah,
there, right?
You're talking hundreds of things that he's written, and yeah, maybe those aren't enough to cover a full novel, but there's certainly enough. I'm sure he's probably done something short story wise. But
it was just something that popped into my head the other day when I was listening to Lizzie's story. Is that I was like, damn, this covers one of those subgenres.
yeah,
That you break horror into. Is this covers a one that. Yeah, that absolutely is interesting to think about because what I did is I broke it up even more, like what you were talking about.
Yeah,
I did vampire, I did werewolf, I did even like end of the world, virus. If you want to get technical with that, The Stand fits that.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
I feel like I've thought of slashers before with him, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what.
Like I said,
they
we could put a
but-
pin in this and talk about this at a later time. But I just wanted to bring that up with you before I forgot.
Yeah, it's definitely a good conversation for the master of horror there.
And it's the perfect time of year for it too. I mean,
Yeah, indeed, it's my favorite time of year. Okay, so moving on to the next one here, and this is one that doesn't seem like it would be something we would cover, but this is on the next episode of the Jamie Foxx Show, is the title of it here, by Garrett Kennedy from Men's Health on September 8th, 2021. And there's only one little quote here that I'm pulling.
this is the one you were talking about where you only pulled part of it?
Yeah, so this is an interview they did with Mr. Jamie Foxx here, which is an incredible actor, by the way.
Oh, he's so good.
I love him. So here it starts off as a quote. His opportunity gets me moving. Great idea. Then I went to sleep and I woke up and that shit was in my dream. Now I wrote the Black Ocean's 11, or I just rewrote Misery, he says, before telling me that his flip on the Stephen King psychological horror novel is an over-the-top take on an encounter that he once had with a couple who wanted an evening with him at a charity auction. And then he goes on here and quote says, "You know what an actor loves more than money? Compliments. I was supposed to be there for 30 minutes. I ended up staying for 2 hours doing shit from Ray. But then it got weird. So I built upon that." And that's all. That's all he gives us. But the thought of Jamie Foxx kind of remixing Misery based on a real encounter that he had, like, fucking sign me up. Like, I know I've said before. I've said it many times before. I'd never want to see Misery remade because I just think that the original, it's like up there, is probably one of the most perfect King adaptations, and I don't know why you would ever want to like try again. But like something like that would be enough of a twist that like yeah, I don't know. I'm down.
Adding a real world element to it would definitely change it. You know.
Yeah.
That's
and imagine,
that's something that I could definitely get on board with, because I'm the same way with you. I'm an Annie Wilkes purist.
I mean,
it's Kathy Bates, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing that movie, you cannot go better than that.
Like, I saw a discussion online about just different iconic things, and King was being brought up. And obviously it is up there, Pennywise. But Annie Wilkes was mentioned a number of times. I was like, you know what? Honestly, she might be not nearly as much as Pennywise is, but she's definitely up in that echelon of most iconic King creations. And I think part of that does come down to Kathy Bates. You know, she did such a good job with that role that, you know, what King wrote was terrifying, but then she elevated it to a different level.
No, yeah,
and the movie's just so perfectly made that I don't know. It's very iconic, and it's primarily because of her performance. So
yeah.
But I'd be down with that. Imagine that though, man. Jamie Foxx, actor, but not only that, then you have the whole twist that it's a couple.
Yeah.
You know, a husband and a wife. Like, how much freakier does that make it? Like, you know what I mean?
That's almost worse, because now you don't just have one.
Yeah, because then they're gonna like create, like, they're gonna spin each other off. You know what I mean? Like they're both in this delusion, and they're both just gonna spur each other on more and more, and it just makes it that much more terrifying.
Yeah, because if you got kind of like the I want to say Larry, but that's not Lloyd and Polk.
Yeah,
Polk in The Stand.
Yeah.
They feed off of each other,
and
just keep going. If one starts to waver a little bit, the other one's like, no, come on, no, we're good. We're gonna pokerize them, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. You know, it brings them back. You know, that's the same thing that could happen here. Is that, you know, if one of them starts getting like cold feet a little bit, the other one's gonna be like, hey, look, no, we're in this. We got this. You know? And it's just like, ooh.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, it could be terrifying. And like I said, I don't even know if that would even be like a full on remake of Misery. That would almost just be a spin on it. Like, you're doing your own thing that is just kind of a riff. You're taking a riff from Misery, but then building your own thing out of it. It's kind of like Oculus, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about recently, I heard on like the King cast when they interviewed Mike Flanagan, is he's like, I wanted to do 1408. It got bought by somebody else, so I went and did Oculus. And it's just like, when you watch that through that paradigm, it's like, yeah, he's definitely riffing on a 1408, but it's like, doesn't mean that that's another 1408 movie. It just means, you know, it spun it off. And I'd love to see that, even though it wouldn't really be Misery in my mind.
It's interesting where a movie, or, you know, an idea becomes such a big enough that you can have something that's same as it, but not, you know, ripping it off. Yeah, because you get those.
I mean, George Romero did that.
That's true.
You know, he created zombies, and it's like, he didn't create that trying to create a whole new subgenre of movies. He created it to make a movie.
No, exactly.
And then he made another movie, but then like suddenly, like, everyone and their dog was like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do some turn on that. You know?
I was thinking of Halloween in that sense. Is that, you know, before that we really didn't have slasher flicks. You know, that wasn't a common thing. There were some. Yeah. You know, but it wasn't a whole, like, you know, like we talked about, a subgenre of horror. Yeah. But then you have Halloween come out, and you have Friday the 13th come out. Yeah. Pretty close together, right? Yeah. Just a couple years apart, aren't they?
Yeah, 78 and 80, 81, something like that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it just kind of sparked this whole revolutionary of, oh, well, now everyone can be a slasher, you know? And that kind of thing. And it's just like, well, it's just another slasher movie.
What a glorious time.
But it's not a ripoff of Halloween is the thing.
No.
You know?
Now, there were some, though.
There are absolutely some.
There were some.
And the thing that pops in my mind is that every time a Disney movie comes out, there's always a cheap ripoff of it. I remember...
all of them. It's every
I remember the one that sticks with me is Frozen. There was one called The Ice Queen that came out like the same month that it came out. Frozen came out in theaters. The Ice Queen came out on DVD at Walmart, and it's like, oh, so, you know, people buy that for $5 and they make their money.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then jumping to the next one here. Game of Thrones actor Pilo Asbak joins New Line Cinema's Salem's Lot in a key role, exclusive.
Ooh.
And this is also from Boris Kitt from The Hollywood Reporter on September 24th, 2021.
Boris has been busy.
Yes, he has. So you know who this is, yes? Yeah. Okay. So Pilo Asbak, best known for playing the vile Euron Greyjoy in Game of Thrones, has nabbed a pivotal role in Salem's Lot, New Line's adaptation of King's best-selling novel. The horror thriller is now in production in Boston with Lewis Pullman leading the ensemble cast, including Alfre Woodard, Mackenzie Lee, Bill Camp, and Spencer Treat Clark. Asbeck takes the role of Richard Straker,
Oh, okay.
the vampire's familiar who prepared for the arrival of his master and does plenty of dirty work.
Oh, he's gonna be good.
Oh yeah, he's such a vile character in Game of Thrones. Yeah, I could totally see him being a very good Straker there. Asbeck comes off of shooting the James Wan directed Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom, an experience that clearly went well, as Wan is one of the producers of Salem's Lot. So that is, so there we go. Once again, like I said, a lot of Salem's Lot news here, which makes sense because if they're now filming, all of the casting would then come out, whether it's leaked or whether they announce it. So it makes total sense in terms of timeline. Very excited for to see what he has to bring to the role there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to see him play a good, upstanding, non-deplorable character, though. It'd be interesting.
It would be a change of pace.
Yeah, because, look at him there. He looks like a relatively normal person. He even has kind of a twinge of William Riker from Next Generation Star Trek.
Got the beard and everything.
But yeah, he's quite the deplorable motherfucker in Game of Thrones. And I'm guessing as Straker, he's going to be equally reprehensible.
I can imagine it being even worse.
Oh, yeah.
For modern era kind of thing. Is it going to be modern?
He did side with Cersei, so I don't know if they could be worse than that.
No, I mean than the original Straker in Salem's Lot.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that you said it could be worse. I don't know if it could be worse, man.
No. What I'm talking about is the Straker that did deplorable things in Salem's Lot, the novel. I wonder if they're going to make him even worse Straker doing horrible things now.
Oh, okay, I see.
That's what I'm saying. Is like with it, is it going to be modern for Salem's Lot?
I'm not sure. I feel like I don't know. Yeah,
because it just feels like like when you get movies going forward, especially if it's a remake or a retelling.
Yeah,
it feels like okay, well we got to one up it, so we got to do some horrible heinous shit.
Yeah, and you're on the movie screen now, not television screens anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So. That's why I'm a little. Ooh, is he gonna?
Yeah.
What's he gonna do?
So now let's talk about everyone's favorite dude here. And this next one, Pennywise, the story of It. Documentary explores the making of Tim Curry's monster clown.
Hell yeah.
This is by Brent Lang from Variety on September 29th, 2021. And it's pretty excited about that. That's a fun little picture there too. With, melted Pennywise here.
Yeah.
But it says, before there was a popular 2-part horror film franchise, It, a 1990 miniseries featuring Tim Curry as a child-eating clown Pennywise, scared the bejesus out of a generation of television watchers, which is true. I don't know if there's any way to prove it, but I believe that Tim Curry has scared more people of clowns than anyone in history. I think he has done more to scare, like, everyone that was aged, like, 4 or 5 through probably, like, high school age was probably, at the time in 1990 when this came out, was probably, like, completely
traumatized,
affected in some way by Pennywise. And it says, Pennywise, the story of It, offers up a behind-the-scenes look at the making of that earlier adaptation of Stephen King's novel, which has achieved a cult classic status over subsequent decades. The documentary will receive its world premiere on October 15th at the Sitski International Fantastic Film Festival of Catalina. Which that's a long name there. The film, which is co-directed by John Campapiano, it says Unearthed and Untold, or these are things the other things that he's done: Unearthed and Untold, The Path to Pet Cemetery, Snapper, the man-eating turtle movie that never got made. So those are
what?
Sounds like he does some documentaries on occasion. And Snapper, the man-eating turtle, that sounds like a fucking movie I need to see.
That's right up there with your B-level horror movies,
dude.
You know what one that reminds me of?
What?
Black Sheep.
Oh, dude, Black Sheep. It's still on my shelf.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. I still got it, man.
I've still never seen it.
That's a great one. And I'm not talking the Chris Farley movie here. We're talking about the New Zealand horror movie where all sheep turn into zombies.
Man-eating zombies.
Yes. Is there any other kind? and it's pointed out in the marketing material for it that there's more sheep in New Zealand than humans. So
by a large margin.
Yeah. So... One other thing I got to mention that's coming out, it's not Stephen King related at all, but this reminds me of it, the Snapper, the man-eating turtle, is there was an article about a grizzly bear that came across I think it was like a crashed plane that was being used for drug smuggling, and the bear got into some cocaine.
Oh, God, yeah.
And there's some people that I follow on Twitter that are like Hollywood people, and like they started joking about it, and they ended up writing a script, and they legitimately are in production, and it's Cocaine Bear. So that is coming. And I cannot fucking wait
A
to
killer
see
cocaine bear?
cocaine hopped up bear. Yes, dude, I cannot fucking wait. So Cocaine Bear, watch your local theaters for that to be coming in the next couple years.
What the hell?
I love the spirit of it. And Christopher Griffin's, which his credits are Leviathan, the story of Hellraiser, and You're So Cool, Brewster, was several years in the making and includes an interview with many of the key players. That includes IT cast and crew members Tim Curry, Seth Green, Richard Thomas, Tim Reed, Richard Masur, Emily Perkins, Tommy Lee Wallace, Larry D. Cohen, Bart Mixon, Victoria Burrows, and more, as well as scholars of King's work and even a professional clown.
Oh.
So it's good to get at least one clown voice in there, you know. I hope he's in full regalia too. If it's just some ass clown that is just without any kind of makeup or hair or anything, and he just looks like a normal schlub because he's a clown on the weekends, like that's not going to cut it. He better be in full fucking clown for the interviews. That's all I'm saying. I'll be disgusted if it's not. It says that we live, and then this is a quote, "We live in an era where adaptations of Stephen King's works have never been more prolific and culturally relevant." Campopinino, I don't know how to say his name, said, "From the hugely successful 2017 and 2019 theatrical remakes of It, Pet Sematary, the widely lauded sequel to The Shining, Doctor Sleep, TV series Castle Rock, and the upcoming theatrical remakes of his 1979 miniseries Salem's Lot, this documentary is arriving precisely at the ideal moment." Pennywise, the story of It, was produced by Gary Smart, Campopino, and Adam Evans and Hank Starr, and executive produced by Lawrence Goneril. It is seeking distribution. So I'm guessing what's going to happen here is it's at this festival. It's going to be coming out in about a week. It sounds like. It said mid-October, October 15th. So 6 days from now. I'm guessing what's going to happen, as it usually does with these festivals, is Netflix and all these different places are there looking to buy stuff. Certainly this is going to be bought by someone and then put on whatever streaming service. So I'm sure we'll all have a chance to see it. But 6 days from now, it'll have its world premiere at that festival.
That's awesome.
It says, ahead of its world premiere, here's an exclusive clip detailing how the production crew created Curry's iconic look and documenting the actor's reluctance to be too heavily made up as his menacing alter ego. So don't really have it for the episode because of copyright strikes and stuff, but go to the show notes, find the link for this, and go watch the little preview that they've got. It is pretty cool to see them talking about kind of how they built it and what they were wanting to do, and certain things where Tim Curry refused. Basically, he didn't want to be too hopped up on all these different things because then he felt he would get lost in the whole thing. So very interesting. But yeah, definitely check out the link there to go watch that preview and wait for some kind of announcement. Maybe even the next roundtable we might have some news of who maybe bought it, and we'll have it for full release.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up, another Salem's Lot one.
Good Lord.
Salem's Lot, Stephen King's New Line movie, adds John Benjamin Hickey by Anthony D. Alessandro from Deadline on September 30th, 2021. Exclusive, recent The Inheritance Tony nominee John Benjamin Hickey is set to play Father Callahan in New Line's big feature adaptation of Stephen King's best-selling novel Salem's Lot, which is hitting theaters and Warner Brothers post-Labor Day holiday corridor of September 9th, 2022. So this is our Father Callahan.
Okay.
Which, as Dark Tower fans, of course, we have a lot of interest in, certainly. And it makes me wonder, does Mr. Gary Dauberman, when he wrote this, does he maybe get the Dark Tower and maybe beef up the role of Father Callahan? Yeah, I'm not saying we have to go like full on and it turns into a Father Callahan movie, but like just give us a little bit more there, because like you watching the first one, you're just like, and it's like the book too, it's just like, what the fuck, he's gone already. Like he's hardly in this.
Yeah,
he's a background character for all intents and purposes. Like he hardly has any weight in the story. So hopefully, but I'm definitely excited to see. This is probably the one casting that I was most intrigued by. Just as a Dark Tower fan, I'm certainly excited to see who's going to play Barlow and stuff.
Yep.
But I mean, Callahan. Yeah, that's
Callahan is the big one because he has crossover directly with Dark Tower.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in a
exactly.
minor way either. Like, he's a
No.
pivotal role.
He's a member of the quartet, for God's sake.
Yeah.
So, Hickey is currently preparing to make his Broadway directorial debut with the revival of Neil Simon's Plaza Suite, starring Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew Broderick. Following a sold-out run at the Colonial Theater, Hickey plays Henry Wilcox in the acclaimed play The Inheritance on Broadway and the West End of London, for which he won an Outer Critics Circle Award and nominated for a Tony. His latest movie, Sublet, premiered at 2020 Tribeca Film Festival. He's also seen starring in Maple Thoreau's alongside Matt Smith, the critically acclaimed Netflix Talaloo, the Barack Obama biopic Barry, and Scott Cooper's Hostels. Other credits include The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, Truth, Big Stone Gap, Flags of Our Father, The Anniversary Party, Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, and Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. And yeah, so he's done a number of things, but it looks like primarily he's a stage actor, which does remind me of one Kathy Bates that was primarily a stage actor before getting a role in a Stephen King adaptation. Because, yeah, she was largely unknown, so that's exciting. In television, he received the Emmy Awards for his work in the Showtime series The Big C. Most recently, he starred in the opposite Uzo Abdua in the fourth season of In Treatment. Hickey later went on to star in the critically acclaimed WGN American series Manhattan. Other TV credits include The Good Wife, Modern Family, Hannibal, The New Normal, Sex and the City, Law and Order, and Mom. And in fact, I looked him up just to see if I knew him from anything. He was also in an episode of Third Rock from the Sun, for your sake.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, I don't know what episode it was or what part he played, but yeah, I was did see that. And oh, Peter would appreciate a call out to.
I do love Third Rock from the Sun. I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, I what really baffles me is I feel like I heard somewhere that John Lithgow is going to be in the new Dexter thing. That's weird. But
That is.
I mean, it's the best that they ever did with Dexter's with John Lithgow. So more of him, the better. Okay, so the next one here is not Salem's Lot.
About time. No, I'm just kidding.
So Donald Sutherland and Jaden Martell to star in Stephen King's adaptation of Mr. Harrington's Phone.
Oh.
This is by Boris Kitt from The Hollywood Reporter on October 1st, 2021.
Good Lord, Boris. Take a break, man.
So any guesses on who we have here? I mean, you obviously recognize Jaden Martell, right?
Nope.
Really? You do. I mean,
Oh, is that Bill?
yes.
Okay.
So a veteran
Again,
actor.
another veteran.
Yeah, exactly. Another
What you were
Stephen King-
talking about.
and Donald Sutherland, no, but Kiefer wasn't he in Stand By Me? Wasn't Kiefer the bully?
I think he was.
So
yeah.
Donald's kid. I don't know if Donald's been anything. Veteran actor Donald Sutherland and Jaden Martell, who appeared in the It movie, will star in Mr. Harrington's Phone, an adaptation of Stephen King's short story, being produced by Jason Blum and Blumhouse, or of Blumhouse, and Ryan Murphy. The announcement was made as part of a second annual Bloomfest, which celebrates many spooky projects from the Scaremaster Bloom. John Lee Hancock wrote and directed the horror thriller for Netflix. Production begins this month. Phone hails from King's anthology collection If It Bleeds, released in 2020. It tells of a young boy who befriends an older reclusive billionaire, Mr. Harrington. When the man passes away, the boy discovers that not everything dead is gone and finds himself able to communicate with his friend from the grave through the iPhone that was buried with him. Sutherland is playing Harrington while Martell plays the boy, which, I mean, I kind of expected it to be the opposite, but okay. But yeah, so as to my point earlier, though, obviously King veterans seem to just pop back up. I mean, dude, Charlie, for God's sake, was in Doctor Sleep. So yeah, like even these young ones. Owen Teague has been in a number of Stephen King things as well. I mean, some of these people are just hitting them again and again. The plan for the movie debut is Netflix in 2022. Sutherland's vast resume ranges from classics such as MASH, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Kelly's Heroes, to playing the vile President Snow in Hunger Games movies. He recently played Nicole Kidman's father in HBO's The Undoing limited series. Martell played Bill Denborough in the hit two-part adaptation of Stephen King's It. He co-starred with Chris Evans in Apple miniseries Defending Jacob and appeared in Knives Out, and it says in parentheses, also with Evans. He recently signed on to star in a reboot of the 1980 vampire movie The Lost Boys.
Oh.
So, yeah, it sounds like he's doing a lot of good stuff. So yeah, that's interesting. I knew we've already talked about this being announced, but I hadn't really heard much on it. So like, there's a lot on our chart that we haven't really heard a lot of for a while. And since this was on the newer side, I didn't really expect to hear anything about this for some time. But it sounds like we're starting to kind of get a vibe of what's coming sooner than later, and ones that might still be on the back burner. Certainly Salem's Lot, and then now we know Firestarter is probably in post production now, and it sounds like Mr. Harrington's Phone is now going to production. So those are kind of the ones we should probably expect to see more sooner than later.
Yeah.
And then next up, we've got Salem's Lot.
Good Lord.
New line Salem's Lot adds 3. And this is from Boris Kitt from the Hollywood Reporter.
Boris, my
October
dude,
1st,
take a day
2021.
off.
So Salem's Lot has found its kid victims. Kid heroes.
Oh.
Too soon. And this is left to right from the pictures here. Jordan Peterson Carter, Nicholas Cravati, and Caden Woodward have Cade Woodward, have joined the cast of New Line adaptation of Stephen King's best-selling novel, currently in production. Gary Doberman is in the director's seat. Carter will play Mark Petrie, a 12-year-old boy who becomes a key member of the group fighting the evil. Cravati is Danny Glick. That's an unfortunate role to play. Who becomes the town's first vampire and helps turn other townspeople into bloodsuckers. Woodward is Ralph Glick, his brother, who mysteriously, and then in parentheses says, well, maybe not so mysteriously, disappears. Carter is one of the key players of DMZ, an upcoming HBO Max limited series based on the DC Comics series that stars Rosario Dawson and Benjamin Bratt. Before joining DMZ, Jordan was best known for his role as Tika Sumpter's son in Tyler Perry's created OWN drama series, The Haves and the Have-Nots. Cravati played one of Nicole Kidman's twin sons in HBO's Big Little Lies, and he will be seen with his brother Cameron Cravati in Amazon's Goodnight Mommy opposite Naomi Watts, and in the Will Packer produced film Oracle. Woodward is best known for his memorable and heartbreaking turn as B.O. Abbott in A Quiet Place.
Okay.
Yeah, he is the youngest son that bites it after the first scene there in the Quiet Place. It's the scene that obviously sets the rules, because if you hadn't seen the marketing material, you may not know what was going on.
Right.
So he obviously doesn't last long. He also appeared as Hawkeye's son, Nathaniel Barton, in Avengers Endgame, and will appear in the Hawkeye series. So, yes. Also a place where he doesn't last long.
No.
In Endgame. So, oh man, I still remember when that scene opened, and I just groaned. I don't think a lot of the audience caught on. I remember looking around and like, is anybody else realizing what's going to happen here? And just nobody did. So then when it happened, then people started to groan. But I'm like, come on, people, y'all knew where this had to go. Yes.
I didn't know it was going to be that bad, though.
I figured it had to. It just felt like, because what I knew is, because you just took a year break, you had to get it some way to put people back into that mood that they were in at the end of the last movie. And what better way than watching a guy see his whole family?
I see. Yeah, that's why I didn't think that it would be the whole. I thought maybe one of them or two of them would go.
Yeah,
but yeah, no. You're right. I should have known better.
Yeah. So this next one, for one, it's a great little article, but two, I'm going to give you a heads up. It's the first time I've ever done this, but I'm sorry. Before we jump into it, I do have our new chart. I redesigned it, so hopefully our faces will not be in the way.
Oh, excellent.
So our upcoming thing, there's no real changes to it. This is all the same that it's been. I did do some rearranging, but hopefully this gives us some room to kind of expand this as things may grow. But this is our ultimate list, the same as it has been. I did take off Chapelwaite, as that is now debuted. It is on Epix. I was just telling Peter before we started recording, I need to sign up for Epix so I can give that a watch.
Yeah.
I put Firestarter and Salem's Lot at the very top because those seem like the most quickest coming.
From a Buick 8 still? I thought that one was dead.
That one was dead, but then we heard another article about it not even that long ago, a couple episodes back, where it kind of talked about it again. So it sounds like it might be on the run again. So I just want to warn the people on the YouTube side, this next slide for this next article, it's the first time I've ever done this. I got a GIF put in instead of a picture.
Really?
So, and that's for a good reason. So I'll just read the article here or just the headline first before we go to it. So, new open world horror game features an evil spider train named Charles.
All right.
So let's go ahead and jump over to it, and you can kind of watch the GIF that kind of shows said spider train.
Oh, good Lord.
So yeah, go ahead, and it comes there. It is indeed a giant spider train.
What
beast.
the hell?
So that is that's this went kind of crazy on the internet. So when it got announced here on October 2nd. So this is by Zach Wenzen from Kotoku from October 2nd, 2021. Says, if you're afraid of spiders and trains, you really shouldn't have clicked on this blog. I'll give you a chance to leave now because this new horror game coming out in 2022 is going to be too much for you and your fears. And the title for this is very fun. Choo Choo Charles is the name of it. It's an upcoming open-world horror game where you have to explore an island via your little yellow train. As you search around the island, meeting locals and finding parts to upgrade your train, you'll have to keep an eye out for Charles, a giant spider train monster that is hungry and wants to eat your flesh and probably your train. So, and then also, isn't there a clown element to it too?
With like the face of the train.
Does seem like a kind of a clown face, very sharp, pointy teeth, and the long gangly legs. It's an odd concept for a video game, but I was instantly hooked by the trailer. And this GIF was taken from the 15 seconds of the trailer. So, it's like a minute something long trailer. So go ahead and click on the show notes and go to the article here. Actually, I'll also just have a link to the actual trailer itself. It's like a minute long. But definitely, dude, I'm fucking down. This looks fun. But I was hooked by the trailer that the developers posted on Twitter yesterday. It seems like I'm not alone. Over the weekend, the trailer for Choo Choo Charlie went viral, with thousands of people sharing it and commenting how strange but cool it looked. And then it says, here's how the developers describe the game over at the official YouTube upload for the trailer. Here's their description. In Choo Choo Charles, you're given the task of eradicating a monster known to the locals as Charles. Nobody knows. I have to stop myself from saying Charlie. Nobody knows where he came from, but they do know why. To eat the flesh of puny humans. You have a small yellow train with a map, mounted machine gun, and an exquisite collection of bobbleheads on the dashboard. You'll use this train to get from place to place while you complete missions for the townspeople or loot scraps from around the island. Over time, you'll use your scraps to upgrade your train's speed, armor, and damage. You'll grow your arsenal and hopefully become an unstoppable force ready to take on the great and mighty Charles. And then it says here, it should be pointed out that the name of the train and its evil vibes remind me a lot of a children's book, Charlie the Choo Choo Train, which he obviously gets wrong there. Written by the famous author Stephen King. I'm told by some folks here at Kotoku, I don't know how to say their name of their website, that this book is very important in the overall lore of the Dark Tower or something. I don't know. So it sounds like this is definitely not a constant reader. They started talking about books, and I was too busy watching the trailer for Choo Choo Charles again. So, yeah, just had to share that. I'm hoping that the GIF, hopefully it's working for everyone there. I guess you're seeing it on the slideshow side, so hopefully it's working. It's something new, something I might have to use again in the future. I like this, using GIFs on the slideshow. It'd be good to maybe have, in the future, if we're talking about it, for instance, having Pennywise opening his mouth or something. It'd be good, I think.
Cody says he's already added it to his Steam wish list.
Yeah, and there was some stuff I saw online. You can definitely pre-order it or whatever, put it on your wish list on Steam. But I, for one, will play it. What about you, sir? I know it's very beasty, but
I'm intrigued.
Dude, it is freaky to me. Like, the whole spider train thing is it sounds like fucking absurd. If I hadn't seen this, and that's why I wanted to put the GIF, because I think I grabbed a screen grab that I thought was okay, but I was like, I want to see the movement of it because that makes it even creepier. So I had to do the GIF, and hopefully it portrays well. But yes, if you're listening on the podcast side, go to the show notes, check out the trailer. It's only a minute something long. You can watch it. Definitely looks cool though. And I had to mention it because, for God's sake, Charlie. I guarantee someone at the place there has to be giving some tribute to King in the Dark Tower. So I will not be able to not call him Charlie. It's really, really hard for me to say Charles there. But yes, Choo Choo Charles. Check it out.
Add it to my wish list on Steam.
Alrighty. All right. Awesome. So now over to the odds and ends. Man, I guess we went through that quick. We had a lot of news, but a lot of them were actually kind of short. I didn't really think about that, but it's all good. We have some emails too. We haven't done emails in a couple episodes. So
yeah.
So odds and ends on the August 22nd, there was an article covering top-selling fiction, and Cy King reigned supreme with Billy Summers. He was at number 1 back in the end of August. And I did see some different things. It sounds like Billy Summers has actually been doing pretty well. It's been staying on the top 10 list for basically all of September as well. So
really,
Billy Summers is selling well. And then there's let's see. I think I accidentally did I put these things in the wrong order? Let me look at my slide thing here. I think I may have got them a little bit out of order. Let's see what we got next. Yes, so I'm forgetting what I got here. So, I'm sorry. Uncle Stevie recommends. That's why I have my notes are in the wrong order. Tweet from Stephen King. He says Midnight Mass on Netflix, and he actually tweeted this before it came out. Mike Flanagan has created a dense, beautiful photographed terror tale that climbs to the high pitch of horror by the seventh and last episode. I believe it starts in 10 days. So, high praise from King. And I have to recommend it. I, in fact, put out a tweet on social media. I'm not going to say a lot about it. There's no way to say a lot about it without spoiling it. But I will say, what it brought it up. A question I threw out on social media was, what would you define as Kingian? Like, what are Kingian traits? Like things that make you think of King? Because I think 100% Midnight Mass feels like King. Like I think I told you when I read like Nosferatu from Joe Hill.
Yeah.
Like there's multiple times I had to like remind myself that I wasn't reading Stephen King. Like
right.
I'm reading somebody else, but it felt so stylistically the same. And there was even some Dark Tower references that I kept forgetting I wasn't reading King. This was the same. I was like, this is Mike Flanagan, which we obviously have a lot of respect for here. But it felt like Flanagan was doing a King tale. And what are some thoughts that come to your mind? What, like somebody says, hey, like, this book is very Kingian, or this movie is very Kingian. What things do you expect of it? What does that mean? What does that mean for you?
Kids in danger.
Kids in danger. Okay.
A lot of King is kids. Also, like just horror in general, but also really great characters.
Yeah. And that certainly fits. That's actually one of the things that I remember thinking to myself is like, it felt very, for me, it felt very King in the fact that I felt like I was getting to know characters that didn't really seem like they were that important to the plot, but they were spending time to kind of let you at least spend a little time to get to know some of these people. And I thought that felt very King. Like, you know, King is one that will kind of explore around a little bit, even if it doesn't really pay off to some massive amount. Like it doesn't turn out to like this small story bit from freaking Jim Bob, you know, the freaking whatever, just rando person in town, like turns out to be the thing that saves the day in the end. No, but you do still get a little bite of his story that just, to me, it enriches the environment.
It's world building is what it comes down to.
And Midnight Mass feels that way. Okay. Certainly. Small Town is another one.
Small Town is a good one. That's a very good one.
So Midnight Mass takes place on basically an island in New England. And it's like the whole time they're always talking about like the mainland, and there's like certain people that have like always been on this island and they've never even been to the mainland. Like it's very, you know, they're just out in the middle there, but it's very small town, like hundreds of people, not thousands of people. So that felt very King to me, kind of salt of the earth, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, overall felt very, very King-ish. So I highly recommend it to everyone. King himself recommends it. Perfect thing for spooky season.
Yeah, Agamorphy just joined us. He says, just got in, guys. Midnight Mass is awesome.
Yeah, highly recommend it, as does King. Very, very, very good. And we'll have another small little thing throwing to that is attributed to, I will attribute to Midnight Mass, but we'll get to that in a second. So there's a thing that I also found that was, it was basically talking about the home sales slowing in Maine. But the thing that I found great was where it came from. And here, I'll pull it up. WKIT 100.3, Stephen King's rock and roll station. And I think it was Jeremy telling us that when he had his trip there, that he said King bought a radio station. And so this followed along with that. Literally, it was just a news article, or a little short blurb article about home sales slowing down in Maine. And it was from the news portion of WKIT. And so that's how I caught it, though, is because it says Stephen King's rock station, and that flagged it in my email. So I pulled it up, and this is their logo. Not only... So WK, I think, is one of those things, like the first few letters of any call sign for like a radio thing, like tells you where it's at in the country. Like if you're east of the Mississippi, it's like, I think it's WK, and if you're west, it's something else. The first two letters. So it's the second letters that tend to change. So I'm guessing IT are probably ones that were picked for them, particularly because they're Stephen King's rock station, as well as a little zombie guy going on there. Definitely got to love that. But Carol says binge Midnight Mass day one. It was great. Yeah, me too. And I did indeed binge it in a single day. It was hard not to. Like it mentioned, King mentioned, though, it's 7 episodes. So you're basically talking about 7 hours worth of watch. So it feels a little bit shorter. You know, a lot of things nowadays are like 8 to 10 episodes. So that the fact that it was 7, it just felt like it kind of went right by. But
Okay.
very, very well done. Highly recommend it. But and then also
That's on Netflix, right?
it is on Netflix. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, not only do I want to pimp it because it's Mike or because of its like whatever Kingian feel, but also it's Mike Flanagan for God's sake. Like,
And you love Mike Flanagan.
don't we all?
Yeah,
like
sure.
who doesn't, man? He's fucking incredible. Yeah. So there's this. And then also there's a thing called a website called What's on Netflix or something that's I popped up a couple times this week. I've never seen their thing before. But one thing I wanted to bring up from them, and I just added it here on the odds and ends, was Netflix will be losing the Mist TV series on October 23rd. So if you want to catch the sentient Mist, you better hurry up because you don't have that much longer to
Gross.
to watch it.
Gross.
Oh man, I love it. I love the spirit of it. Okay, so next up is Dreamcasting. We haven't done this in a while. In fact, because of the way the slides were set up, I don't know that we've done this since we did cameras. I think I've just kind of forgotten. Like I had it like the slides kind of hidden so it wouldn't pull up in the normal episodes. And I think I just kind of neglected it for a while. So I wanted to get back to it though. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, Michael Keaton got brought up on our Discord on the Patreon side.
Yeah.
But so I was like, I want to do that again. But I will admit, 100% this is because of Midnight Mass, and his name is Hamish Linklater, and he plays a very big part as the new priest in Midnight Mass. Dude, this guy fucking killed it, and anyone that's watched it can probably attribute. There's probably two people that really stood out in the show, and he's definitely one of them. Like I remember there was just times where I was just like so pulled in by him that I was just like, dude, this guy fucking killed it. And I'm like, I just want to like, there's two people coming out of it. I was like, I want to see them in everything, like put them in everything right now. And he was one of them. So I wanted to throw it out there. What do you think for whether it's Dark Tower is always the primary question, but then secondarily, if there's other King things that you wanted to put him in, that's fine.
I mean, Salem's Lot is obviously on my on my brain.
I wonder why.
With the 76 articles that we covered today.
And what is it, Boris?
And Boris, take a day off, dude. Damn.
I'm guessing he must be on the Hollywood Reporter Stephen King beat.
The Salem's Lot beat is what it is.
Well, that's mostly what's going on now. But like,
no, it's got its own beat. Salem's Lot now has its own beat, and Boris is the lead guy.
Carol says throw the whole Mist series away.
That's what you should do.
And then gives a laughing emoji, which I do appreciate. Carol actually points out what I was thinking. Hamish as Eddie.
Okay.
When I was throwing this slide together, I remember thinking to myself, I could kind of see him playing Eddie Dean.
Yeah.
I don't know that I don't know if he's necessarily the right, like exact right age, but I mean, if we're still talking about Aaron Paul that's in his 40s playing 20-something-year-old Eddie,
yeah,
like I do think there's something, especially the one on the left, really kind of feels Eddie-ish to me. That was my first gut reaction. But what about you? What do you? I know you haven't seen him in action.
Yeah,
yet,
I haven't seen him in action. I'm going purely off of like the two pictures that we have here. But in Dark Tower, man, one that comes to my mind is Jamie Jaffords.
Is that the family?
No, the Jaffords, Tien,
yeah,
Tien Jaffords, the father.
Yeah, that wants to stand up.
That wants to fight and everything like that.
The first one.
Yeah. Also, he would not be a bad sayer there at the end with Mia and Susanna.
Yeah.
When she's given birth. Dandelo, Cody, that's a good one. Dandelo.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's not older, but I mean, we could make Dandelo younger. I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, if
oh shit, could he be an older Mordred? Like at the end when Mordred gets to be in a young adult?
Could be, definitely could be. I mean, if you can make 40-year-old Max von Sydow be the old priest in The Exorcist, and Tad didn't know it for decades. Yeah, then you're still
seeing him pop up in movies. You're like, wait a minute, isn't he dead by now?
I think it was when he got cast in Star Wars.
Yeah,
which is 2015. So probably would have been 2014 that they got announced.
Yeah, Force
I'm
Awakens.
like Max
right?
von Sydow. I'm like, how is he still alive? He was like 80 in The Exorcist, and that was in 1973.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, my God.
Hollywood magic, baby.
Dude, I never considered that he was a younger dude with makeup.
Yeah.
And the more I watch, like, different things where people, like, look into that, like, every time I see someone that finds that out, they're always shocked. Like, and I think there's a part of you, maybe it's just like recency bias. You just assume that like special effects weren't as good back in like 1973 as they would be today. You know, like it making someone look older or whatever. But no, man,
dude, that's the thing though, is that back then it was practical, not CGI. I mean, nowadays we got CGI. You know, I just watched True Detective season 3 for the first time. We got 2 actors in that play the characters at 3 different points in their lives.
Yeah.
In 1980, 1990, and then 2015.
Something. Yeah. I've only seen it the one time. So
they don't exactly say the last year.
Yeah.
Very often.
It's modern, basically.
It's modern, and so you see them when they're when they're in their 30s, when they're in their 40s, and then when they're in their 70s.
Yeah.
Or so. And so to see, and I had to look it up, and I was worried that I was going to spoil something for myself. I had to look it up to be like, okay, this main actor, how fucking old is he? I can't tell which one's the real one.
Mahershala Ali. He's going to be the next Blade.
Yeah, I couldn't tell which was.
Which one was? Yeah,
it very well could have been the old one was the real one, and they were de-aging him.
Yeah,
or it could be the young one, and he was being aged up, or he could be the middle one, and they're doing both.
Yeah.
I could not tell.
Yeah, he is one of my favorite actors right now, dude. He's been in a number of things I saw him in, and that was one of them.
Yeah,
where I'm just like, God, put him in everything. Like, he's fucking great, dude. He's a killer actor, and I can't wait to see him as Blade in the MCU side. So, yeah. But, I think Eddie would probably be my choice. Like I said, it was a kind of a gut reaction when I was putting this together, because it was just like, there's something about the one on the left that just feels Eddie to me. I think the hair length is perfect. I think he kind of has a look that he could definitely be a New York guy. You know what I mean? Like, you could kind of see him greased up a little bit and being kind of a scuzzy, whatever.
Yeah.
But then he would obviously be able to clean up to her when he's on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't. I just think he'd be, and he's a fucking incredible actor. So maybe there's part of me too that was just like, I want him in the biggest role possible because he just did so good. So one of these days, after you've watched it, you'll probably come on and be like, dude, I finally watched it, and then you'll have some reaction. But yeah, definitely excited to hopefully see what else he has coming. And then the other one, I'll even just say it, is the law enforcement officer. Felt very Stranger Things, where like the cop ends up being one that really became a star out of that show. I wonder if the same thing might happen with Midnight Mass, dude. The guy playing the sheriff, and that was fucking killer. And I want to see him in everything.
Okay.
I just make a movie of those two guys and just make every movie of them. Just buddy cop. Do everything. Just
they remake Lethal Weapon with those two.
It's like Harrison Ford, in the 90s, he was in every fucking movie.
Yeah.
And a good chunk of the 80s, too. He was just everywhere. There's just certain guys, sometimes you see an actor where you're just like, yeah, they were good, but there's other times you're just like, I want him in everything. Like Gary Oldman. I always think of that. I'm like, I want Gary Oldman in every movie. Why not? I mean, whether he's playing, a toddler in, Kindergarten Cop, or whether he's playing Dracula, he could do it all. It's true, though, right?
Oh, yeah. It's Gary Oldman. I mean...
let's see. Did I miss anything in the chat? Carol says age was my thought too, but use Hollywood smoke and mirrors to help out. Yeah. So, yeah, sweet. Yeah. Definitely wanted to bring that up, and yeah, recommend to everyone. It's perfect spooky season watch. If you're into that kind of thing, I might have to be rewatching Haunting of Hill House though, dude. I've been jonesing for that for a couple months now.
Have you?
And like one of the things I watch reaction wise is doing that. And she fucking hates horror, so like she's top of my list for this time of year. Because I'm like, cool, what horror is she gonna be like?
She watching?
And dude, she was losing her mind watching Haunting of Hill House. And I was just like, this is making me want it even more. I need to watch it. It's so good, dude. It might be one of my favorite horror things in the last decade.
It's so good. It really is good.
Yeah, it's and like so that's why I mentioned Mr. Smiley, because I was watching that reaction video and that whole thing.
Yeah.
And creepy motherfucker too. Like, and you only see it like one time, but like you're just like, that was so fucking creepy.
Well, that's the thing, is that sometimes that's worse. I mean, look at Jaws. You see the shark for exactly like 20 seconds on film for the first hour of the movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, we know the story behind it is that it was a large technical issue, but dude, it just made it so much worse because it's like, where's the fucker?
Yeah, thank God for the technical issues.
I know he's out there somewhere, but where is he?
Jaws would have been a lesser film if that shark had been all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that is that. Let's see. I actually accidentally closed the email thing. Let me open it up here, and let's go ahead and jump over.
Emails. It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
You know that's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it.
It was asked for in the chat. So
It was specifically asked for in the chat. I know.
And it has been a while because and honestly,
Yeah.
part of that is I don't think we've covered emails in a while. With some of the way the cookies crumbled with our shows the last little while, we had like the King Kids avoided emails because that was just such a big conversation, and that had some fan input as well.
Yeah.
We had Jeremy on. And then I'm trying to remember what else. Just
We
feels like
even
it's,
had to, we missed an episode because of the work and everything like that.
Yeah.
With life and everything there in
Yeah.
August. So it's been a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done emails in general, let alone the actual email jingles. So I don't think I've missed the jingle in the last couple times we've actually done emails, but that's dating back to probably July or so since we've
Yeah.
probably actually covered emails somewhere in there. So it has been a while, but definitely looking forward to it. Let me see if I can figure out the. I was going to transition the slides here to show a little bit different for the emails. I think this is. Does that work?
Yeah.
On your side? All right. We haven't done emails since we did cameras. So, Carol says, I remember the first time the email song was saying it was classic. Yeah. And I love it too. Cause like we weren't live. So
No.
like, that's where like the whole job, like, that's not getting deleted. Cause cause at that time we weren't live at all. So like I would be editing. So there'd be times that
Yeah.
if we'd screw something up, oh shit, let me just re-say that, and then you could edit it out or whatever.
Yep.
And I would. And I remember that being the thing when we went live too, is that was the nervousness. It's like, well, shit, once we're live though, there's no such thing as like,
Hey, can you edit this part?
you
Let me go
can't-
again.
Yeah, this is live, buddy. Like, but honestly, it's gone well. I don't think we really had that many mistakes. We've had a couple technical issues here and there, but like, whatever, it's live. That's what happens, right?
Yeah.
But the first one we have here is Ethan from Tennessee. He starts off and says, Heil Gunslingers. Heil. Says, I've been listening to and loving the podcast for a few years and figured I'd finally introduce myself. Well, thank you. Glad you are enjoying it.
Awesome.
And glad you sent an email here.
Yeah.
It says, I had a strange journey to the tower. I read the first two books when I was a teenager in the early 90s. I stopped there until 2017, right before the movie came out. I restarted from the beginning again and became a tower junkie this time. So that is a very unique perspective.
Yeah.
Jumping into the series in the early 90s and then only reading a couple books, like, I mean, at the same time, though, that's what we've talked about a number of
Yeah.
times. There's a lot of people that do stall, and,
Uh-huh.
that's just maybe a longer stall than a lot of us experience, but still, stalls do happen.
It does.
And if it was the early 90s, all the books weren't even out yet.
No.
What was it, 90... God, what was 1991 was one of the books, wasn't it?
3 Wastelands.
Wastelands is 91. Yeah. So if you did in the early 90s, when was the next one? Wizard and Glass is 97. So if he was early 90s, yeah, Wizard wasn't even out yet. So
Yeah.
that's which means that if he would have read through,
Oh.
he would have been bamboozled with that cliffhanger.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing, Ethan, that you stopped when you did.
Yeah, perfect timing.
You saved yourself a lot of heartache. Dude, I can't imagine. I really just cannot. Can you imagine having to wait that long for a book anyway, let alone ending on a freaking cliffhanger like that? Like, I don't know I don't know where the George R. R. Martin stuff with the Game of Thrones series, I don't know where that's left off. I don't know if it's left off on a cliffhanger. I want to say, if I've heard right, Jon Snow had been killed at the end of the last book that he did, so maybe that's your cliffhanger, but like, that's nowhere near Blaine.
There is one cliffhanger really, really bad. There's 2 cliffhangers I would say in Harry Potter, but one that's way worse than the other one is the end of book 6 and then waiting for book 7. But even though I'll look that up, those weren't.
Didn't
that
she hit?
far
Yeah, I was
off.
gonna say, didn't she hit those books pretty damn good though? Like, I don't realize, or I don't. In my mind, my perception is there wasn't that kind of massive gaps in Harry Potter. I feel like once she kind of started it, yeah, she may have taken a year or a couple of years or whatever, but she wasn't like King, where it just like, all right, I'm out for like 7 years.
No, it was 2 years. It was 2005 to 2007. So
Yeah.
No, not nearly as bad. But I think that's the closest I've ever come to experiencing, the cliffhanger at the end of Wizard and Glass from Wastelands to Wizard and Glass.
Yeah.
Half-Blood Prince to Deathly Hallows, because I absolutely read that in real time. Read it like the Half-Blood Prince when it first came out, and then had to wait until the Deathly Hallows, which came out 2 years later. So
Yeah.
that's the closest I've ever come. We've obviously done it with movies and games and stuff.
I mean, there's movies,
but
yeah, certainly,
it's not the same.
Yeah,
Because usually when you get to the end of a movie or the end of a game, it's like, oh well, they're going to make another one. Yeah. Halloween, for example, we're stoked. We're going to go see the Halloween Kills, right?
Yes.
next week when it opens.
And then next year or two, Halloween ends.
Halloween ends.
Even though they've
Yep.
already said this will not be the last. That won't be the last
Nope,
one.
won't be the last one.
Which, thank God.
Thank God. Michael Myers, we need him in our life.
Indeed.
But not in our lives.
I mean, there's worse ways to go.
No.
I would feel honored to be killed by Mr. Myers if I had to die. Like, why? I mean, at least I'd go down as a, I always see those things
as a statistic.
I always see those things online. It's like, what would you do if you walked in and saw Michael Myers? I'd be like, ask for an autograph. Like, I mean,
Can you sign right here with your knife?
There's also one where it's like I don't know if it's a convention or something, but it's like a men's room, and there's like 7 people in there in Michael Myers costumes of different qualities and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, what would you do if you walked into this room? And like my answer is always the same: grade the costumes, and the masks specifically. Like I'm a
purist.
I'm a
when it comes
purist
to that
here.
mask.
Like I there was leading into the 2018 movie, I did a social media post and ranked all the movies. And what was one of the main things I had on there was
how good the mask looks.
mask ranking. Like,
There's one of the movies that the mask looks amazing on like the cover and the poster.
Yeah,
and then
4.
when you get into the movie, it's horrible.
Yeah, 4. That was definitely number 4.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely a purist when it comes to that. Then he goes on here, says I reread the whole series again in 2020, and he says it helped me through the pandemic so far. And says, so I guess technically I've been reading the series 2.25 or read the series 2.25 times. Would you count a partial read of the series, or should you only count full reads? I think if it comes to like a stall like that, like, you can count it however you want, but I wouldn't be. If you said you've read it 2.25 times, that's fine.
That's fine with me.
Now, for me, like I've talked about recently, like I want to actually jump into like book 6 on its own. I probably wouldn't count it myself because that's just reading as a solo outing because I want to really have a distinct view in my mind of what book 6 is.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's so easy just to read them all in one go, and then like 5, 6, and 7, or especially 6 and 7, but even 5, I just feel like it all blurs
5,
together,
yeah.
and it's just like, dude, it's hard to like know like, okay, which is which. But I think 6 and 7 is the worst though, because 5 has that 7 samurai, vibe. That's the whole first chunk of the book. But it's that tail end that kind of connects into 6 that makes it kind of whatever. But
we talked about this a couple episodes ago. Yeah, 5 and 6 do still bleed together. You're right. It's not as bad as 7
not as bad
is.
because of the 7 samurai thing. If you didn't have that so distinct, 7 samurai or what was the Magnificent 7? Like, it's been done a number of times, but like King took his turn of doing that. I think if you didn't have that bracketing of that story, it would be a lot worse. Like if the story is a little bit more book 3ish and it was just kind of like a lot of shit happening but didn't feel as structured, I think it would blend. I think you'd lose all sight of what 5, 6, and 7 actually was. But the 7 samurai thing helps a lot. But yeah, I want to get a good sense of, okay, what is actual 6 100%. And then, because then from there, I'll be able to separate it and go, okay, now I know in my head what 6 is, so I know what 7 is, like, and have a clearer view of that. Because I don't think I've ever, even reading them physically or listening to them, I don't think I've ever actually just read one without immediately following the next one up, like right away. Like,
No.
like literally, it could be in one binding, or it could be one audio file. Like, I don't. Although I was thinking to myself with the Charlie thing, I do think to myself at times with you, I should have like, oh man, I lost the book. I don't have it to lend to you to let you sit on that cliffhanger for a couple days or so.
You're a monster, you know that.
But I didn't. I gave it to you in advance.
Yeah.
I'm a nice guy.
You were nice. You did say, hey, well, let me know when you get close to the end.
And you didn't even do that.
Yeah.
To one of your friends, you got into the series. You didn't tell them, and then like you were like, could you not find the next book, or was it you were out of town? Or
what
you,
had happened?
It wasn't. You weren't able to get them to him right away. They actually ended up being tortured for a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So.
What happened was I got one of my friends that I grew up with into the series, and everything. This was when our show had started and everything, and I had moved out of my parents' house. Me and my wife got married and got our own place, and I left some stuff behind. You don't always take everything with you when you move out of your parents' house.
Yeah.
One of the big things that I didn't take with me is I did not take all of my books.
Yeah. Those are hard boxes to move.
They are hard boxes to move. Also, I had a ton of kids' books.
Yeah.
Like, because I started reading heavily in 2nd grade.
Yeah.
Is where I really started becoming like a bookworm. And what kicked it off was, and I've told you this before, I don't know if I've said it on this show before, the series that really kicked it off for me was K.A. Applegate's Animorphs.
Yeah.
And with that came Goosebumps as well, because those two, it flip-flopped back and forth which one was featured more at the, do you remember the book fair?
Yeah.
In elementary school, you'd go in with $5, come home with 3 books and a Ferrari poster.
Yeah.
That for me, it was always an F-16 Fighting Falcon or an F-18 Hornet, poster. Every now and then I'd
Did your
I'd bring a
school
car.
have Goosebumps books in the library?
Yeah.
See, my school didn't. There was a whole controversy about that.
Oh,
They were
really?
saying that they couldn't have them because they were too mature and they weren't for kids. And I'm like, dude, they're literally for kids.
They're
just,
literally
just,
made for
Just
kids.
because they're horror doesn't mean they're not for kids. So, like, my whole, because I actually tried to, like, whatever. And I remember at one point I was even going to donate some of my personal Goosebumps books to the school library so they would have them. And they said they couldn't take them. So it was a whole
We had an age restriction on them. Only only 5th and 6th graders were allowed to check them out and read them.
Okay.
So it was really kind of like a rite of passage when you got to 4th grade.
Yeah.
Oh, now I can check out Goosebumps. But I don't remember anything else. I do remember that when I got into junior high, there was a teen series that R.L. Stein wrote, where it's like a high school graduating class gets cursed, and it's like an anthology where in different books, different people die, and at the beginning you have like the yearbook pictures where they
Okay.
actually did like photos of actors.
Yeah.
And you have like 30 kids, and each time one of them died, it put like a freaking red X through them. I don't remember what that one is. I never finished that series, but
Yeah.
Animorphs was my big one. So Animorphs ended up being like, I think it was like 60 or 70 books total.
Yeah.
And I had almost every single one of them bought
Yeah.
and in a box. And then, like, obviously when I got into high school, we met and everything like that. I started getting into more adult stuff. I was a fan of Dean Koontz before you introduced me to Stephen King. So I had a few Dean Koontz books, and then Stephen King, and oh my gosh, I eventually got all those books from my parents' house. But what happened was my friend was a Dark Tower fan, and I had books 1 and 2 because we were bouncing the idea off of doing book clubs. It was before we even started book clubs in the show. And what happened is that when he said that he wanted to read it, he had The Gunslinger, but he didn't have anything after that. So I lent him Drawing of the Three, and I went to my parents' house and I grabbed Wastelands. I looked at my copy of Wizard and Glass and went, no, it's going to take him a while to get through Wastelands. I'll just leave this here. And then what happened was exactly what you said. I went out of town. Me and my wife went on vacation. And he texts me and goes, hey, dude, I just finished Wastelands. I really need to read the next one to find out what happens with Blaine. When can I come by and get it? I'm like, dude, I'm out of town until like next week. He's like, all right, going to Barnes & Noble.
Yeah,
and the next day he went and bought it at Barnes & Noble.
I would have done the same thing. So ultimately, what we're learning here is #Peter is terrible. Now, see, I give it to you well in advance, and
No, he never talked to me about it. It's not my fault. It's not like I did it on purpose. See, that's the difference between #Tad is terrible and #Peter is terrible. Is that I'm accidentally terrible. You do it on purpose, like what you talked about earlier with the mist. You send me pictures of that horrible wretch of a woman.
oh yeah,
I don't do that to
Yeah,
you.
Mrs. Carmody, man. You got to remember her. That's all. You can't. I can't let you forget.
It's just like Scott's Tots.
Yeah, as I
with
say,
you.
exactly. Scott's Tots is the other one. Every time I watch it, I text you. Hey, I'm watching Scott's Tots, just to let you know. That or the dinner party. I mean, Scott's Tots is worse, but the dinner party as well. And I think you actually watch the dinner party more, don't you? Like Scott's Tots, don't you skip?
I don't watch The Office anymore because of those.
you give up the whole show.
It's
man.
it was also unavailable for a while.
Yeah,
for me, so
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I have not gone back and rewatched The Office for a few years.
Okay. And then Ethan goes on here and says, one thing I love about the series is the community around it. When you meet a fellow Tower junkie or listen to Dark Tower Palaver, it's great to know that there are other people out there who love and appreciate the depth of this series. So thank you for being part of that and for welcoming listeners like me into your extended quartet. It is definitely our pleasure. Definitely one of the best things about this. I don't know if we necessarily foresaw the whole community thing as much going in, because it's one of those things when you start a podcast, like you don't really know if you're even going to have that many listeners. Like, and we even talked about it where it's like we wanted it, we're going to do this, and we were committing to it to where it's like whether it's one listener a week or whether we have no listeners, like we're doing this for the fun, kind of not. Like, there's a lot of people that get into podcasting because they think, oh, I'm going to be able to quit my job and I'm going to be a professional podcaster and stuff. And it's like, those are people that get burnt out because, oh, I only have 20 listeners and then I stopped doing my show. It's like, well, you got 20 people that were listening to you and you're now disappointing them by closing your show up.
Yeah.
So I always rip on people a little bit when I see them on like Reddit and stuff talking about that kind of stuff with podcasting. It's like, dude, if you got 20 people listening, like,
That's still a fan base.
Yeah, that's 20 people that are like spending their time listening. So we ultimately didn't know what we were going to have like listenership wise. But yeah, so I don't think we foresaw the community thing, but it might be one of my favorite elements, if not my ultimate favorite element of the show. Ultimately, is having that community and even just seeing you guys interact online with each other as well as with us and stuff, and then now with the live streams and having the chat and stuff, it's awesome. Which reminds me, I did lose track of it here. Cody says I used to have an SD card with the entire series of audiobooks in one continuous flow.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Now that's
really cool.
That would be amazing.
Yeah,
that would be I wonder how with Audible that'd be tough. Like you'd have to like get actual just like MP3s of each of them, and then it'd be easy to patch them all together. That would be a formidable runtime.
That would be Cody. If you have that handy, you used to have it. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember how long it was all together?
Yeah, my God.
Because the thing with the Dark Tower, we were talking about this right before we got on the air, is that the Dark Tower series always has here's a portion of the next book, so you can't really count like the runtime that's like on Audible.
Yeah.
As the full runtime for like the Wastelands.
Yeah.
So
now without some math, you'd have to get to that portion and then look at what's left and then subtract that from the overall.
Exactly. And it would just be like a little bit of math there, but
yeah.
I was going to say something and I can't remember what it was now.
And Carol says I have all the audiobooks and restart Journeys at will, or just my favorite, Drawing of the Three all the time, which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
I actually do think of all the books, the only one I've ever read on its own was book 4, which is my favorite.
Yeah.
And I do feel in a lot of ways it's the one that stands on its own the most. Ish, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you kind of have the carryover of the end of Blaine, but other than that, like, it's a pretty self-contained story that has, a beginning and a middle and an end. Not saying there isn't a slight end to each book, because I do think King does give you a little arc in each book, but ultimately it feels like book 4 is the one that's easiest to just take one dive into. But I do agree. Book 2 though is a good one to.
Cody says it took an 8 gigabyte SD card back when SD cards were $5 a gig. That's a hefty price tag to carry around the Dark Tower series. No, what I was going to say, I remember. What I was going to say is I got into streaming on Twitch there a little bit before everything happened this year. And one of the advice from one of the Twitch streamers that my wife and I watch was do it for fun. Do it with something that you like. Like, don't play games that are popular just because they're popular.
Yeah.
Do it because play a game that you like. I mean, the only games I played are the Batman Arkham games, which are it's easily one of my top favorite series of all time.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that when we were talking about with the series, and I've said this before, when we were talking about starting a podcast, there was several different subjects that we were considering because we didn't know what we wanted, what would be long running was the big thing.
Yeah.
But there were so many different topics that we thought about, and then when Tad suggested the Dark Tower, I was like, yeah, it's a niche little thing, so there's going to be fans out there. And Cody says that this is the one Dark Tower place that I found where the fans are involved directly. We always wanted that from day one. And
even when we weren't sure if we were going to have listeners.
Yeah,
we're like, if we do get listeners, we 100% want to make sure that like it's interactive.
We want to do emails from them. It was one of the very first things. Like even before we recorded our first show, even before you bought the mics and everything like that, we talked about the idea of having emails from the fans where they could send in their theories, because we both have our own theories about the ending and everything like that.
Which has shifted many times for me since even the time we've read the show.
Yeah,
it's changed quite a bit, which I think is the magic of the series, is that it does change. Like, it's not always just one. King writes it in a way that like multiple people could have multiple views, and one person could easily phase through all those different views of it without really like the text doesn't limit us.
Yeah, no.
The text is the thing where someone can just go, no, that's not the text. Like, this is in the text. That's the way it is. It's like, no, King wrote it in a way that it's very open to interpretation on certain things. And I think that's the magic of it, because it allows you the ability to have a podcast and stuff. So
yeah, and with it, we realized a few years into it that, it doesn't have to be exclusively the Dark Tower. We've talked about a lot of Stephen King, stuff with it, and that's going to continue going forward, is that it's not going to be just the Dark Tower, but let's be honest, all Stephen King things are at a different level of the tower, so
yeah, indeed,
they're there somewhere.
Indeed. Let's see. lost my space here. Yep. Okay, I read that one already. That section, and then he goes on here. Says, "I've learned to appreciate each book and character for who or what they are. So the segments on Dark Tower Palaver involving ranking the books or characters kill me. I couldn't do it." That's totally fine. I mean, we just love doing it because that's the kind of nerds we are.
Yeah.
I like every once in a while I get like kind of self-conscious about it because there's like a lot of clickbaity shit that's like into like lists and rankings, and it's like, I hope people realize that's not why we're doing it. We do it because like we just genuinely enjoy that kind of thing.
Did that.
It's the best way a lot of times in our like 20-something years being friends that like to open up conversations, because it's like it's easy just to talk randomly about Star Wars or whatever, but it's like then if I tell you, okay, you got to rank the Star Wars duels, like that's going to turn into a 3-hour conversation.
What was the one you asked me before we went on the air today?
Yeah, like favorite Star Wars space battles, and it's like because like ultimately we were about to go on air, so whatever. But like if this was like, you know, if this were a different universe and like that would have been the episode of a podcast, like chances are we probably could have had at least an hour and a half discussion on that. And that's
easy.
Yeah. So like, that's just how you and I have always communicated. And so I have thought about that though, 'cause sometimes I see like, I hate clickbaity shit.
Yeah.
And there's times like, God, I hope people don't think that's what we're doing. 'Cause like, that's just the kind of nerds we are, that we just love doing that. So,
I remember one time we did it together. We ranked all, because we're both football fans. We both ranked our teams 1 through 32.
American football.
Yes.
I've been watching
Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I've been watching Ted Lasso, so now I have more comprehension of, you know, what other people call football.
He still is never going to watch soccer, though.
No, absolutely not.
But we absolutely did. We ranked our teams 1 through 32, with 32 being our most hated, you know, rival team and everything, and everything like that. It was interesting to see like where I put a team that isn't anywhere near a rival for either one of ours. I put it at 10 and he put it at 22. We've always done stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just a fun way for us to go. So Ethan, sorry that it kills you, and I'm sure there's other people that are like, I can't do that. Like I totally get it. Sometimes I'll even make up, you know, lists because I know it'll hurt Peter. You know,
he does that on purpose. He does,
because I know that you'll agonize over it. Like that's just so. I'll do them.
You've asked me that before. It's still hard. It was still hard for me to admit it. Is, you know, which was worse, the dinner party or Scott's Tots?
Yeah, we had a whole conversation on that. Yeah, 'cause it is. I mean, that's still hard, but I think it's got to be Scott's Tots, man. That whole episode just drags on, and it's like just torturous because you know what's coming, and you're just like it's like watching a car accident. It's like watching a train accident. So you know what's going to happen because the train tracks are there. There's only one way it can go, but it doesn't mean you can't stop looking.
Yeah, instead of it being one of the fast speed ones where the semi truck just explodes when it gets hit by the train's going slow enough that it's just dragging the semi-truck down the track, and I just happen to be stuck going parallel with the train watching
the whole thing. Yep.
That's what Scott's Tots is for me. I mean, the dinner party's the same thing, just less violent.
Yeah. I mean, maybe what I'll have to do is get an edit of just all the Mrs. Carmody scenes and have you watch that.
No.
Just that. Just her in isolation.
No.
And then
I did go watch her death the other day.
Of course, okay. I'd edit that one out. We can't have her dying in my video loop that I'm going to create here.
Oh, no. It's one of her scenes. That's the best scene with her, is when she gets shot.
Or Ollie. He's got to be the MVP there in that movie. Ollie,
no. It just clicked with me because you said Ollie and I pictured him. Is that the guy that's the little scientist dude in Captain America?
Yeah.
That becomes like the computer guy?
Yeah, same actor.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Armanzola?
Yeah, Armanzola, that's the name.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the same guy. But he's the MVP of that movie, man. He does a lot of good stuff. Obviously Mrs. Carmody being the biggest one. But throughout that whole movie, he does some good stuff.
If you're terrible, you're not named the MVP.
No, Ollie.
No, Mrs. Carmody. You're never the MVP if you're terrible. You can't be the MVP if you're a good guy, if you're horrible.
No, I'm saying Ollie's the MVP because of what he does to Mrs. Carmody. Like
gotcha.
That's the big thing that makes him that. But there's other things throughout that movie though where you're like, dude, this guy's got it, man. Like he does save the kid's life by shooting that little pterodactyl thing.
Yeah.
I believe he's one of the first ones that believes them early on when like what. Yeah, so he's a great character. And then it goes on. Let's see. Ethan goes on and says, I think Peter is too hard on Susanna, though. I think my latest reread, I've come to love the complexity and self-referential stuff of the later books, 5 through 7. but I still appreciate the dreamy weirdness of the first one and the world buildings of 2 through 4. Each book is different, and that's part of what I love about the series.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly. I think we're getting that, especially with our book club series, with our book clubs. Is like because when we're really in depth. I mean, I don't think I've ever spent that kind of time in one book before. As we're doing with our book clubs, just we're covering it. Like, would it take us 2 years over the course of like 3 years to cover book 2? With a year break,
with a year sabbatical.
So ultimately it covered almost 3 years, but it was almost 2 years worth of shows though.
Yes.
So that's a long time to spend in there, and I think that's it's really making it clear what characteristics of each book is when you're actually in it that deep. You're not just breezing through it like in a whole reread. So I have been appreciating that quite a bit.
Okay, couple things we have to cover from the chat. Carol said, y'all picked the right topic. Grateful because I have no one else to talk to, vibe with for my love with the Dark Tower and all things King. And then she also said, go Cowboys, which is
painful.
As a 49ers fan, this hurts me. Cody also says, have you ever watched Combine Demo Derby? Hilariously slow destruction, which I don't know what that is, so I Googled it. Combines are the big...
Oh, yeah. Combines. Yeah, I know what combines are.
Yeah.
But
they do a demolition derbies with them where they run into each other.
Jesus Christ.
The fuck?
I have to see this. I have to. Combines are underutilized in slasher movies. That's all I'm saying.
Isn't there one Halloween death that involves a combine?
Yeah, there's one. Yes.
Just,
Jamie Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
Adult Jamie Lloyd after she gives birth in Halloween 6, which is one of my all-time favorites, by the way.
I know that one. You've tainted me for some Halloweens, but that one was,
dude. And then it's probably
so brutal.
And objectively, like if you really looked at it, like it's probably not one of the best ones. Like if you just looked at pure quality, like 4 is better than it is. 5, I don't know.
Debatable.
But like whatever. I fucking love it, man. I do. Even though it's got some shitty stuff about it, I still love it.
But the kills, I'll say this: the kills in 6, are vastly superior to anything in 4 and 5. 4 and 5 had some good kills.
Yeah.
6, almost every single one of them are fantastic.
Yeah. Not to mention the dad. That's Mrs. Carmody level guy almost. Yeah. Like everyone watching that movie wants to see that guy die.
Yeah.
Everyone.
There's characters like that.
So then he goes on here, says, my last time through, I pondered another question that I've had for a long time. I was wondering what you guys think. It seems like most people assume that Keystone Earth is supposed to be our world. That is the one where I'm writing this and you guys are having a cool podcast. But can our world really be the Keystone Earth? After all, Stephen King tells us that he changed the location of his house in the books, and there are other differences. 2 Hammarskjöld Plaza in our world is much shorter than 99 stories. Whether Co-op City is in Brooklyn or the Bronx, etc.
That's what I was going to say.
He says, I explain. I don't know. I don't think the Bronx and Brooklyn thing, Co-op City, that doesn't affect it. Keystone Earth, because I don't know. I guess because it's wrong in Eddie's, but I don't think any of us ever assumed that Eddie's is Keystone Earth.
Well, I think that's what he's talking about, is that where Eddie and Jake and Susanna come from is that Keystone Earth?
No. What he's asked, his ultimate question is our world that we're in currently right now, is that Keystone Earth? And I've always expected yes. He says, I explain more complete versions of different answers to this question in a blog post if you guys want to check that out, and I can link that in the show notes. I think I'd have to go back to the email. I didn't put it in here. Okay. It says, what do you guys think? Do we live on Keystone Earth? I thought you might have a fun discussion with that if you haven't already. I don't think we have before. I mean, I think it's biased. Maybe it's biased, but I think that ours is Keystone Earth, just because like the king that's writing the series lives in this world, so therefore that's the Keystone Earth in my mind, right?
That's what would be the Keystone Earth, is there's only one king, and it would be that one. So it's just a matter of, does that match up with what's in the books, like he's talking about?
Yeah.
Because the one that sticks with me is obviously Co-op City is the huge one. That's obvious. King and Myths is a mistake to it.
But that's why Eddie's is not. We know Eddie's and ours aren't the same, which would mean then if ours is Keystone, then Eddie's isn't Keystone. We know Jake and Eddie are in the same one because they cross paths, so it's like that. So Jake's not in Keystone. Susanna, I don't think we've ever talked too in depth about whether hers could be Keystone. I mean, we don't really get a lot from her world,
aside from the JFK assassination,
which lines up. So everything that we see in Susanna's life before she comes over matches. So she could very well be in Keystone Earth.
And then the one that she goes to with with Jake and Eddie at the end, where they're brothers, we know is not Keystone because one of them has a shirt that says "I love Nozzla" or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the definitely one
or
of the
it's
weird.
a hat or something like that. But absolutely, that one is not Keystone because we know that Nozzla is not real.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right? Is it Nozzla?
Yeah.
Okay, because I played the Fallout games and there's a cola in that. I'm just making sure that I'm not confusing the two. I can't remember what that one is now.
Yeah, so I mean, I've always assumed it, but honestly, it is just an assumption, and maybe it's kind of a bias.
Nuka-Cola. That's what it was.
Because that's my world, that then therefore that has to be the Keystone world. But like, I don't know. I think that it's easily a discussion that could be had that we aren't in the Keystone world. Like,
Probably,
that,
yeah.
It's certainly not dictated for sure.
We got a decoy king is what we got.
Yeah, I mean, because like, you never know. It's who knows. Yeah. There's many versions of the universe, right?
I think though that they if you're going to be technical, I think that in one of the later books, I think it is book 7, they call out that there's 2 things that cannot be in any other world except for Keystone, and that's the Rose, and I think that's Stephen King. I think there's a passage in book 7 that talks about those 2 are not in any other world, and that's why I've always assumed that ours would be Keystone. Well, I could be wrong about that.
Here's the challenge I'd have to that. When Eddie's looking through the door, he refers to The Shining, remembers The Shining that he saw in theaters with the Steadicam. It's like
The Shining does not have to be written by Stephen King in that world.
No, but also
Stephen King's works could exist. You know, what if Stephen King didn't exist in that world and Tabitha had the idea because she stated that? You know, it's just there's different ways around that one.
Yeah. Possibly. I don't know. I think it's definitely, like I said, for me, it's always just been an assumption, but it's definitely a biased assumption. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's my world, so therefore, of course, it's the real world.
Right.
Like there's, same thing if you were like talking like a multiverse thing in like a sci-fi or a comic book or something. It's like
the Avengers.
I'm always going to assume the one that I'm in is the most like, important and or the base universe because I'm in it. So,
exactly.
So ultimately, and I admit that there's some I don't know, flawed logic in that, and it just does come down to a bias. But I've always assumed so. I would definitely have to look at your blog. I think I may have looked at your blog maybe when I first got this email, but that was a long time ago, so I don't remember now. As I said, not only have we fallen behind on emails, but we're also famous for email sitting for a time. Like, luckily, he's not saying like "Merry Christmas" here. That would, I think we're past that though. We're in October now. Now we're probably getting stuff that was written in the summer, most likely. Then he says, thanks again for your great work on the podcast. Gunslingers, your Ted appreciates it. Long days and pleasant nights. And we hope you have twice the number. He says Ethan signs off as Ethan from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
I love that. That is one of those cities names that I love saying. Chattanooga.
Yeah, it is a fun one.
It's right up there with Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Those are the 2. If you're from Sheboygan, holler out at us. I love saying that word. Sheboygan and Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Those are 2 of the cities I love saying. I'm sorry. Tangents aside.
Oh, man. At some point, I don't even know how I would do it now. It's been so long, but I wish at the earlier time we would have just like kept a list of where everyone is from listener wise. Cause I always find that kind of stuff fascinating too, where like, where everyone's from, like, do we have, people in all 50 states and like, ultimately the email or not the email's the best because it's like engagement. I know there's some people that definitely just listen and don't ever really chime in, which is totally fine. Like I can look at like the stats on the podcast thing that we have and it tells where everyone's at, but I'd be curious, like, we heard from people in every state. I don't know that we have. I'm guessing like there's some states we haven't heard from, but I don't know.
I wonder, I'm genuinely curious now. You have me curious about what states we have and haven't heard from.
Yeah. It's something I wish we would have tracked ultimately. But so let's move on over here to Spencer. Is the next emailer here. It says, hey, Tad and Peter. He says, I finally got around to finishing Roundtable 101. So, see, not too far off. Well, Then again, this is the next email, though, so God knows the difference there. It says, thank you for reading my survey. It was very cool listening to you guys read it. I'm just bummed I missed it live. You're right. I was there earlier in the show. I was golfing that day, though, so didn't stay. Because I think we saw him in the chat early in that show, and then it's like we got to his email, like, wait, is that Spencer in the chat? But it sounds like he had already taken off by that point.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, you guys rock. I get stoked every time I get a YouTube notification that you guys are going live. Long days and pleasant nights to ye both. And I am purposely not using emojis in this email just for Peter. Cheers.
Yay, Spencer!
I mean, if anyone does use emojis, it could be for Tad, to harm Peter deeply.
Yeah, but you have enough people doing that. That's the thing. Is that do we really need to crush more of my spirits? I mean, they're pretty crushed after 20 years of being your friend. They're like really.
Dropped a little emoji in the chat there.
Why?
Because it hurts you, so I must do it. And then we got a part 2 here from Spencer. He says, by the way, shortly after I sent in my survey, I renewed my Audible account and was able to acquire the whole series in like 2 months. Don't know what I was thinking when I said 1 or 7 were my favorite books. Maybe it's because I have my own kids now, but listening to Roland and Jake developing their father-son relationship in book 1, only for the inevitable to happen, was pretty rough. In book 7, I binge listened to it and listened to the death of 3 of my favorite characters within like 12-hour period. Man, that was rough too. Still don't think I can commit to a true favorite though. Too hard to pick, which I totally respect.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely tough to pick. And if you got like the fatherly thing, yes, 1 and 7 are hard books. With the Jake stuff. And 7's the worst though, because you have that. It's just wham, 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 just in a row.
And then, it's there's the 3 of them right there. Because book 7 starts off with Callahan, right?
Yeah, that's,
Callahan starts off the book. Then you get, when you get to Algo Ciento, you get Eddie, Jake shortly after that, and then just a little bit while later, you get Susanna's desertion.
Yeah,
leaving.
Yeah,
sorry, I won't call it desertion.
I'll call it salvation.
Salvation.
She's the one that actually.
And then Ois, which it's
so,
what I picture. What I picture is Eddie's a kick in the nuts. As I'm bent over, someone takes the 2 hands and clubs me on the back of the head for Jake, and then while I'm down on the ground, like trying to breathe and everything like that from that, then they kick me in the face with a steel toe boot for Oi.
Oland. Now, so here's the question I have though: is Oi's death worse, or is the depressed Oi living harder? Because that's pretty rough.
Oi's death is way worse because at least live Oi has a chance of.
But he's crushed.
But he could get back to a Jake.
I don't think he can, man. He's so.
Susanna got back to Eddie. If she can get to Eddie,
yeah, I guess I see what you mean there. But I think that it's like, because it's always hard. Like, it's like, why is like the Red Fern Grows so much harder in some cases than like Old Yeller? Because it's like, Old Yeller, it's like, the kid has to kill his own dog, but it's like Red Fern Grows, or you watch the other dog have to deal with the fact that his little buddy's gone. Like, that's rough, and I think that's what you get with Oi post Jake. Like that time between. It for me is almost harder, and it's like because it is like, whether it's movies or books or anything, like a lot of times the reaction of a character is almost worse than the actual events.
That's my wife to a T.
And I think that it makes it almost worse with animals, where it's like, to have like Oi, it's like, cool, Oi like has some mind, but like he doesn't have the same kind of mind of a person to be able to like kind of deal with and grieve in the same way that maybe a person will. Like, I feel like with an animal, it's more instinctual, and it's like, I don't think he's ever going to get over it. So,
there's been documented cases where animals have, what's that famous dog in Japan that waits at the train station for his master? Like, became famous. They like made a statue and a movie about it, where his master left for work one day on a train and then never came home, and the dog just stayed at the train station.
Yeah.
Hitachi or something like that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Or Fry's dog in
Futurama. Is it Seymour?
I don't know. I've never. I wasn't a Futurama guy, but I have seen that clip. So.
Of course you have. I want to know, in your Google history, does it have just, what's the most depressing things on the planet? And you've gone through and watched it, just like drank the sadness through your computer?
One thing that just made me think, though, when you mentioned the Japanese one, was like, I wonder how many dogs on 9/11, didn't have their owner coming home.
Oh, my God, dude.
I mean, I'm not trying to make light of that. I'm just saying, like, I've never thought of that before, but when you mentioned the Japanese dog that was waiting for his master to come home, like, 9/11, we just had the 20th anniversary, and it's like, there's probably a number of dogs and cats, and I mean, I know like, obviously the wives and the kids are worse, but it's like,
Oh, yeah.
Again, at least those humans can actually
could
like
have been
somewhat
there
process.
could have been bachelors and bachelorettes that had not been married that had a cat or a dog waiting
Yeah.
at home, for them.
Yeah, and I'm only laughing at your reaction. I'm not laughing at the actual like thing
Yeah.
itself. I'm just laughing at the harm, because again, just the ability to like stab you in the heart with words is just it's my superpower. So.
Hashtag Tad is terrible. God damn.
But
no,
Carol says depressed oi, the suffering is awful because there is no relief. And that's the thing is, because I just feel like with animals, there's just not the same kind of like reasoning and like coping abilities that we have as humans. Like animals, it's just more base, and so for them, it's just, and like, oh yeah, he's smart, but as he is smart and defined mentally as like Roland is, no. And so, and also Roland has a lot of practice with loss as well. So with Oi, it's just like you just can't, and even Roland's fucking crushed, man. Like even him, like whatever. But then Oi, it's just for me, it is hard with Oi's death. But like God, Oi living was almost as bad.
The thing that we were talking about though is the reaction though. Oi's not, coping with Jake's death and everything like that is sad. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But the other one that gets me is Roland when Oi goes. Is the anger at Patrick, the I'm sorry, him licking his hand and saying Oland one last time.
Yeah.
And everything. That's
yeah.
that is what puts it on another level for me.
Yeah.
If
it's
Oi,
true.
If Oi dies and Roland's not there,
yeah, because you do have the reaction. Like if Oi had just stayed by the grave.
If Oi had just stayed by the grave, that would have been heartbreaking in and of itself. But you don't have the reaction and everything.
Which I thought was what was going to happen, by the way.
Yeah.
I thought 100% that Oi wasn't going to leave and he was just going to stay there. So yeah, but then obviously it pays off the way that it does. It's like, okay, obviously Jake told him beforehand, so it's like he had a mission and he wasn't going to forsake that.
He was going to do Jake's last command. He
Yeah.
was absolutely going to do it. And that's where like the death is even so much harder, because he would have absolutely stayed with Jake if it wasn't for that.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%. And that's why I expected that.
So it's one of those willingness moments, where a character is willingly sacrificing themselves. I think of like Aslan, Wrath of Khan, Aslan in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. There's a character who's like literally basically commits suicide.
Yeah.
Like it's like,
yeah,
hey,
I think I've seen the first movie, right?
Yeah,
The
it's
Lion.
The Lion, yeah. The Lion. They're like, we won't attack if you'll come sacrifice you. Literally lays down and lets himself be sacrificed. Like,
yeah,
that's on another level. That's what Oi does.
Yeah.
So when you take that and combine it, honestly, it should be one package. That you can't really separate them, because the sadness there is that he has to keep himself alive. He has to eat. He has to drink. He has to keep moving. And
what
everything.
I love is we don't know.
No.
I think that's the brilliant thing that King did there with writing that, is he wrote it in a way that we don't know why Oi left the grave. We don't know why Oi is like, he doesn't speak anymore and stuff.
No.
Like it's just, we don't understand that. So then when it does get revealed to us, it almost makes it retroactively that much sadder to know that he was just basically doing his marching orders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was just, he like was told something to do and he was very loyally doing it. Like that almost makes it worse, but
it would be the same as if someone made a movie about kamikazes.
Yeah.
It's like, like the loyalty, the honor of it and everything like that is there, but we still know where this is going in the end.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so next up we'll do one more, and then we'll close out here. We have Joel, and he starts off Heil Gunslingers. Heil. He says, I've just recently finished my first post-Dark Tower read of Eyes of the Dragon, and King mentioned a character named Curran, and how there's definitely a story there. Do you know the significance of that name? I couldn't really think of anyone apart from Tom Collin who even came close, but then again, I haven't read everything. And then he says, cheers for any insight. Regards, Joel. And like, I don't, so Curran, Curran, and I don't, and I think when this email first came in, I think I even did some searching just to see if there's something that maybe I hadn't read yet, because I haven't read everything yet. We have some people on our checklist that have, but I am not one of them. I was actually going to pull that up and look at it here. I don't know. You're reading Lizzie's story now, so nothing's updated for you yet, but I'm over the halfway mark now, but
nice.
We have a couple people, I think, at 100%.
There were like 2 or 3 for sure.
Yeah, I'm only seeing one right now, but yeah. So yeah, I haven't seen everything, but I did do some searching and I couldn't find anything. It sounds like King does literally kind of breaks the fourth wall and says there's another story there. I don't think that's actually panned out in it for anything.
Oh.
So yeah, so that's the non-answer answer.
What
I
was
guess
it?
Curran from Eyes of the Dragon. And then Cody says, I don't remember a mention of Curran. I don't know if that's how you spell it or how you say it. But yeah, I did. I think I even looked it up, and I think one of the only things I got pulled up was other people that had excerpts of that, and it literally is just King saying there's another story there, but I don't think that that's actually been paid off. So, yeah, I haven't seen it in anything else. And honestly, I think if King has paid it off, I think he would do something to make it clear that it's been paid off. And I think even when I did some Googling, it's mostly just like unsolved mysteries type, like posts where people are just like, hey, does anyone know what this is? And there's no answers. So I don't think it's actually ever been paid off. And if it has, it's so deeply Easter egged that nobody has really caught what it is.
It's Guardians of the Galaxy level Easter egg.
Yeah, just who knows?
Yeah.
So I don't know. And who knows? I can't try to remember when Eyes of the Dragon was written. Let me pull up the old list here. As I'll say, is this in the cocaine days? We gotta figure out. Well, he did do it when his kids were younger, right? Because he wrote it to be for his kids.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where's it at here? 1984. Yeah, that's right in the middle of.
Oh yeah.
He very easily could have thrown that in there and then not thought about it since. So unless he's had it brought up to him at like Q&As or something.
Yeah.
But definitely not seen anything. I don't know. I think King as a storyteller is one though that he's not a type that would say that and then have to pay it off. Like in a way, he's just kind of telling you, like, it's kind of like the Tolkien thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, generally Tolkien would spend fucking 3 pages telling you the backstory of said sword
30,
or character.
Or 30-something with, the House of Healing?
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, yeah.
PTSD right
but
there.
But I think it might be kind of at least the similar idea though, where it's like where Tolkien would then go and give you like 30-page backstory on this sword that they just picked up. Like King's not doing that. He's just telling you, hey, there could be more to this story. Like, but not necessarily. I guess what I'm saying is he's saying that, but not in a way that he's promising future anything.
Yeah.
Like, if that makes any sense. It's like world building without actually doing the work.
He's done that. He's done that a couple times with. Well, maybe that's a story. He's out of. And this is where he passes out of our story. Maybe there is more there, but it's not part of this story.
Yeah, exactly. There's things like that.
He's done that a couple times.
And then Carol says, drinking sadness through your computer is the new superpower. It's my superpower.
Super villain power.
I mean, the whole villain conversation's very subjective.
Hey, Scorpio, calm down. Is that his name from Simpsons?
Hank Scorpio.
Hank Scorpio. Yeah.
He's great.
Still a villain. Even all the nice things he does, he's still a villain.
I will say that I think it was Jeremy from Dark Tower Radio that posted it on Twitter, and maybe I'll throw it out as a challenge for us, and maybe we can cover it next time on the Palaver section along with the other stuff we have. Stephen King villain Mount Rushmore. My only gripe with it was a lot of the responses are putting Flag on there, and I just don't agree with that.
Flag is a villain. We've already covered this. From Stephen King's mouth himself has called Flag a villain.
Yeah.
The creator himself has called him a villain. Therefore, he is.
He could be slanderous too.
No. You can't be slanderous to your own creation. You made him. Sorry.
So yeah, King. So we'll maybe do that for next time. People, if you want to email it in and stuff, or even if you want to just join us in the chat and give it out live. Mount Rushmore for Stephen King villains. Because I think that's good too, because it just villains. It keeps it to where it isn't too hard. I think if you just had all-time King characters, that would be really tough. Ooh. I bet you most of them would end up being villains anyway, because I think the most iconic King stuff is your villains, your Pennywise and stuff like that. So I don't think it's going to be like, oh, Bill Denborough, like he's great, but it's like, is he really going to be a Mount Rushmore character? But let's just do what he said.
Now Richard Tozer on the other.
Yeah, and then so that'll go right along with doing the stats for the King kids that we did last time. We'll have all the stats for that.
Which, by the way, needs to be changed just a little bit. I redid.
Oh yeah,
list.
you did. Okay, you did.
Yeah.
Cool. Send it to me, and we'll cover it next time. And I'll make sure I get the stats all right
because I forgot how young a couple characters were.
You didn't have. There's a few things you forgot. There was the gunslingers in 4. There was something else that you were just
Abra.
Like. Oh yeah, it was Abra. Yeah, you were bummed, dude. You were.
I was so mad at myself.
Yeah, you were upset.
I was embarrassed actually. Like Damn, how did you forget about that? I love Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
But it's hard because later on she is very close to the age cutoff.
Yeah.
She's in middle school, isn't she?
Uh,
Because she's got like the boy band stuff and everything.
with Abra?
Yeah.
I don't remember her being that old, but I don't know.
I thought she was.
It's been a long time since I read Dr. Sleep. Actually, on looking, though, before we wrap, let me just do this email because this is actually another challenge.
Oh, okay.
So I want to do it so that it's out there, and we'll cover it. Maybe I've closed the calendar thing out. So not next episode, but maybe 113, which is November 20th.
Okay.
But let's read it here. So Aaron, and he gives us some background. He says, hi, Peter and Tad.
Hi.
He says, I have emailed a couple times and recently heard Peter talking about my Kuntz recommendation, Midnight, and how he wondered what it would be like if King wrote it. He says, I started to wonder, what if King wrote a lot of different things? But most likely, if he were to rewrite something, it would be something from the public domain. So my question that I have posed for both of you is, what 3 public domain books or stories would you like to see him rewrite? And I have compiled a list of some of the more popular public domain works, but you can find the more complete list at Gutenberg.org. I have always heard it said that Salem's Lot is his rewriting of Dracula, and it might be tempting to pick the other horror stories on that list, but choose carefully. And he says, my 3 choices are below the list. And he does give a pretty extensive list here. I might just post this on the open challenge thing on the website, just to, I don't know, save the time of reading through all these. But let me just grab a couple of them, and then I'll put the full list on the website there. Frankenstein. And which is of course titled "Or the Modern Prometheus," and then let's see, Pride and Prejudice, The Great Gatsby, Tale of Two Cities, Moby Dick. Let's see, I'm just Jane Eyre, Scarlet Letter. I'm just literally scrolling through and grabbing a couple because this is a long list he gives us here. Grimm's Fairy Tale, Wizard of Oz.
Oh God, the Grimm's Fairy Tales are bad enough. Don't give King that.
The Peter Pan.
Woo!
The Iliad. The Odyssey, Don Quixote. There's just, he's got a bunch of them here. Uncle Tom's Cabin, Les Miserables, The War of the Worlds, Romeo and Juliet. God, can you imagine that from King's perspective? Romeo and Juliet. So I'll do the full list. The last one we'll do here because it's good for spooky season. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. That's a
hell of a good one.
That'd be a good one. He says, my 3 choices, and I'll give them now, even though we're going to do this in the future. I'll do it now, and I'll repeat it when we actually do it. My 3 choices: Call of the Wild. He says King has done some great things with animals / horror. And then the next one, Peter Pan. He says, I love how the original has so many genres in one. Would love to see a scary twist. And The Time Machine. And he says King has some great sci-fi. I would love to see his take on this. And he says, you guys do an amazing job podcasting. Keep up the good work. Long days and pleasant nights. Aaron from Oklahoma. So
thanks, Aaron.
Thank you. And like I said, I'll post that on the upcoming or the open challenges thing that we have on the website. I'll have both his full challenge here as well as the entire list that he does. Plus, he also mentions going to Gutenberg.org. Everything in there is public domain. So everyone, that's the challenge. 3 public domain works. But which ones would you love to see King cover?
Okay.
So, yeah, I think there'd be some good ones. And the challenge I will say, because he mentions, like, scary, but I'll throw the challenge out there. King doesn't just write horror.
No,
so you could easily pick something, if you want to go dark horse, and pick something that you don't want a scary twist on. Maybe you just want him to take something and do the Shawshank jive or whatever.
The Shawshank treatment.
Or even, like, I would say 11/22/63. I get you got the sci-fi elements. I get you got the horror elements, but the majority of that book is 100% straight. There's no horror. There's no sci-fi. It's just a fucking love story.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Mr. Mercedes for slasher.
That's the one I think I was thinking. Yeah, I think that's the one I was thinking.
There it is.
Going back to your earlier
There
thing.
it is.
Yeah, that's definitely.
I think that's it.
I
think that would be serial killer.
Yeah.
Guy that kills, in a particular way and everything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's more of a mass killer, but I mean, that's kind of
I think that is the one. And that jives in my head because I remember thinking the slasher thing earlier in the year, and that's when I would have watched all the Mr. Mercedes shows, all seasons of the show. So that probably jives with why I was thinking that. Or even the third season, which is the second book, is maybe even more so. Because you got the lady and the guy that's trying to get the book. Well, it's not. It's in the series. There's a lady. I don't think there's a lady in the book.
It's just a guy in the book.
Just a guy, but it's very slashery. He's literally just killing people. So, that's the one that especially felt slashery. Is Finders Keepers.
Yes.
Finders Keepers, which is the 3rd season and the 2nd book. So, so that's the open challenge. We'll close out with that. So let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff real quick. If you want to subscribe to us, you can do that on any podcasting service. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. The show notes for this episode with all the articles, as well as you can find the little tab for new listener questions. If you're a new listener and you want to answer those questions, you can answer one of them. You can answer all of them. Email them in, and we'll cover them as your introductory thing. As well as now I have a new tab there for open challenges. I think that this one that we just got thrown out here might be the only one left. I think I haven't updated it yet, so it probably still has the King Kids on there. So I have to delete that one because we've already covered that.
Yeah.
But then we're just going to do that so we keep track of these things and we don't lose sight of challenges that we've thrown out there. Then if you want to join us on Patreon and support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And if you want to contact us, you can do that in a number of ways that Peter can let you know what those are.
Best way, like the folks here tonight, email us is darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. And then you could watch our shows. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Make sure to subscribe, like the episodes, and then ring the bell to get notifications for when we're going live. And then our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. Our Instagram's darktowerpalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then our merchandise is available on TeePublic. It's teepublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver. And there is a link on our website. It's the little package box present.
Yep, box. Yep.
Yeah. Go get a sticker that says #Tad is terrible.
Yeah, or get you a cushion that just says Dark Tower Palaver that's not slanderous. You know, that's
not slander. It's fact. I mean, we proved that today.
Did we?
Yes.
That's not how I remember it.
You admitted to drinking the sadness from people.
Yeah,
that's evil. That's evil.
It's like was it Hitchcock that said that there's a reason that whenever we see a baby we say boo. You know, we all love to scare each other. It's the fun of things.
Yeah.
Why do they have cameras on roller coasters now? You know, because you always want to see people at that height of the most terrifying point of the ride, right?
But they don't put cameras in haunted houses or on scary rides. They do it on roller coasters.
That's something they should actually do is haunted houses.
Thrills.
Like they should have like.
I have seen pictures of a particular haunted house that does. There's one particular jump scare where people will look and they put the camera where they'll look towards the jump scare and they snap pictures of it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun. And maybe even just show like certain elements of it for the people that are in line waiting to get in.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be fun.
Oh, when I get to this is good. You know. Yeah. But then have it be like a twist where the first one's not it, it's the second one.
I'm guessing your wife would never go, right?
My wife?
Because of clowns?
Loves haunted houses.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we actually were just talking about it last night.
I was thinking maybe because of her clown phobia, maybe she'd not be down with it.
That's where it
gets fun.
Well, there's actually a quick story about that. We went before the pandemic. We looked it up last night because we couldn't remember what it was. It was 2014. We went to a haunted house here in Utah that had, for the first time, the VIP where you wore a bracelet and they were allowed to grab you.
Yeah.
And like physically drag you. I mean, before it was no contact. You know, you can't touch them. They don't touch you.
Yeah.
So what we did is we bought it for both of us, but we came around a corner and this clown popped out. And I went, "Oh, you want her?" And I pointed to my wife behind me, and he literally stopped, gave me a thumbs up, looked at her, cocked his head, and sprinted at her. She ended up running back like through half of the haunted house while he chased her. And then later on, he like circled around and got with other clowns. They popped out of side doors, physically separated us, and dragged her through a little like midget door where it's like, you know, like half the size, like underneath, and just dragged her away. And I'm just like, all right. There she goes.
So one thing I remember learning very young, going to those all the time as a kid, was like we'd always ask for the parents to buy us like the glowing bracelets or whatever. And like
so then they could see you.
Yeah, my parents are like, you know, that's stupid, right? He's like, you're paying them money for something dumb like a glow stick. It's like, and two, all you're doing is you're just making yourself more easy to see for them. Like ever since then, I'm like, oh yeah, it makes total sense. You don't want that.
Yeah, no.
But yeah. But of course, we have a tangent before the very close of the show.
That's what we do.
Tangents aside, we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
Alrighty. Thank you guys in the chat for joining us. How about that clown train spider thing?
I'm going to show my wife
Choo Choo
at home
Charles.
and see what she says.
Choo Choo Charles. I'm down. I can't wait to play it. So, but thank you guys for joining us. Always good to have you guys as part of the conversation. Whether it's jabbing Peter or talking about length of the series on SD cards, and all kinds of fun stuff, and helping us remember things. I can't remember what I was forgetting earlier. What was it?
The chess one.
Oh, yeah. Queen's Gambit. I was forgetting the name of that. But thank you guys. You guys are awesome. And we will be back in a fortnight for episode 112, which will be another roundtable. So join us then, and we will be, we'll be here in a fortnight. See you guys then.
Bye.